Welcome to the Thunk Tank. Come in the tank. We're thinking, and we're drinking,
And we're thunked.
and we're thunked.
Oh my god, I'm probably more beer than man if we go far enough back at this point.
All right, guys, we're live at not live, but Thunk Tank has started.
The Thunk Tank has begun.
I mean, I'm alive.
Thunk
Thunk
Tank is
Tank.
here.
I'm live too. This is
Oh,
live
yeah.
for us, I guess, technically.
Yeah.
All right, let me just make sure it's going. It's going. All right, we're good.
Welcome to Quarantine Tank 2020. It's not
Yeah,
as
the
funny
tank
as it was a week ago. When we did our
No,
last
it is
episode.
not.
When
But we
did
are
our-
now sealed in the tank, at least.
If you've
No, that's
listened, if
true.
you're one of the 83 people that have so far listened to our last week's
Coronacast.
Corona cast, maybe we took it more lightly than we would have
Well, it's
with the
funny,
power
I'm
of
seeing-
hindsight.
I'm seeing clips of Joe Rogan that are coming out, and they're from a week ago, and he's like, yeah, whatever, it's not a big deal. Even then, just 4 or 5 days ago, he
Right.
was sort of along the lines of still, yeah, I'm living my life, you just got to play it safe. And it's a totally different tone even 5 or 6 days later. Like, I haven't seen any of his new episodes, but I feel as if his tone's probably changed as well.
Oh, yeah.
Some big actress like live tweeted or streamed something about like, I'm going to cough on people if they ask me about Corona, like making a joke at it. It's like, those videos don't age well.
Well, that's
Those live
that's like
streams don't
that
age well.
that NBA guy who, right before this all broke, I guess it was
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago now, when the NBA was kind of ahead of the curve when they suspended their season. But the one guy who said that he's waiting for results, and then have you seen the clip where he touches all the microphones at the
Yeah,
podium?
yeah, He's the one that tested positive later.
Yeah, and even the people in the room were kind of chuckling because it's one of those things that you laugh at knowing, well, that's kind of a dick thing to do, but whatever. And now that's a clip that does not age well at all. He's had to apologize, and it became a whole public relations sort of mini scandal.
Also, a side note: we're going to try to land on the topic of like money and how the Federal Reserve is going to possibly give out $1,000 to everyone.
Well,
or
that's what this is
whatever
all
the
really
plan
about.
will be.
Yeah.
But we just want to kind of talk general Corona shit first, I think, because it's all
It's
the same
changed so
thing.
fast.
It's all the same.
So I still have a job currently.
Yay!
And
Congratulations.
yeah, well, I work at a brewery, and they have switched. They're not really kegging like any of the beer, though. They're just bottling and canning it because supermarkets are still open. But whenever that ends, we'll have to shut down. But
Fair enough.
there's this weird phenomena every morning. You come into work, and people are just standing around for a few minutes, getting their coffee, waiting to start the day, going, "Oh, did you hear this? Did you hear?"
Yeah.
Everyone's just catching up, and it's like, "No, I didn't hear that," because there's so much craziness. It's like, "Oh, did you hear about this thing going down in Italy or this or that?" And it ages. This ages so quickly. It's going to be really hard to do an episode on this because things move so freaking quick with this.
Yeah.
Well, that's like we were saying
Yeah.
that we'll put out this episode tonight or tomorrow morning because it might be a moot point in another couple of
few
days.
days.
Well, like if I were to
Everything we
to
say.
redo our original coronavirus episode,
Yeah.
I would have definitely not. I don't know. I guess what was that? A week ago, basically.
it was
we
about a week
recorded
ago.
that.
Yeah.
What would you have changed in like your general thinking towards it?
Probably I sort of the political fallout in terms of just what's actually looks like it's going to happen now. Speaking of coming back to money,
I'm coughing.
with how Trump essentially is going to begin UBI, universal basic
You didn't
income.
see that coming.
I made the
I
point.
actually have a clip of Trump. This just happened 15 minutes ago.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
see,
play it
it's
real
like-
quick.
Oh,
See?
awesome. See,
What do you got?
I haven't
You guys
seen
ready?
it. We were on the
It's
beach
not-
all day. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not what you think of, but this covers a bunch of stuff that's been developing in this week, which is only 2 days in, but still a lot's happened. Ready?
I would like to begin by announcing some important developments in our war against the Chinese virus. In fact,
So right there, I'm kind of annoyed already.
So
That-
yeah. I need to.
If people who aren't following it I don't know who started it, to be honest. I haven't followed it too closely, but he's been calling it the Wuhan virus or the Chinese virus. He called it a foreign virus in his first address about it. Fox News, where he takes a lot of these cues from, keeps calling it the Wuhan virus, giving China credit for starting it.
But
And so China accused, some officials in China accused the U.S. Army of bringing it to Wuhan.
Yeah, I saw that.
and used it as an excuse to expel all our journalists or a bunch of U.S. journalists.
I mean, it's clear that people are using the situation as an excuse to do things that they see as advantageous.
Like religion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
so
and like anything.
Yeah.
it's just disappointing that Trump is doubling down and be like, "Well, I'm not going to back down first. I'm Donald Trump. I don't do that."
He's too
And
stubborn
He keeps
for that.
calling it the China virus. But
But
here,
wait, what's wrong with
that's-
calling it the China virus? Like, I mean, the China virus is wrong, but the Wuhan virus would be like, okay, that's not
'cause
the
that's not what
scientific
it is.
name,
That's
but
not what it's called.
I mean, but there are the scientific names for like.
You
things
also
and-
no, you have to think about the audience that's hearing it.
Oh,
This is
I know
a
why
certain
he's saying
number-
it and what he's trying to get.
Yeah, it's
get
not
across.
it's not helpful at all.
If it
Yeah.
leads
It
to
doesn't
even
add any
one,
clarity.
if it leads to one racially motivated hate crime in this situation, where like resources for cops and everybody are thin, like are stretched, like it's just irresponsible on his part. But that's not the part of the clip I wanted to
Okay.
hear. That
That was just a cunty aside of Trump.
That's just
yeah.
my little
Yeah,
my little
his-
Trump's a cunt aside.
yeah, his
right.
intro.
Okay.
War against the Chinese virus. We'll be invoking the Defense Production Act just in case we need it. In other words, I think you all know what it is, and it can do a lot of good things if
He
we
doesn't
need
know what it
and
is.
we will have it all completed, signing it in just a little while, right after I'm finished with this conference. I'll be signing it. It's prepared
He
to
still
go.
hasn't said what it is.
Contagious virus.
Do you consider America to be on a wartime footing in terms of fighting this virus?
I do. I actually do. I'm looking at it that way because, you know, if it got out of control, the big thing we did was a very early stoppage of people coming in who could be very, very heavily
late
infected.
stoppage.
That was a very good move, and it was very early, very, very early, when most people,
wasn't.
including a lot of professionals, they didn't want us to do it.
Opposite lie.
Really
He just-
saved a lot
oh
of
my God.
lives. And yeah, I look at it, I view it as in a sense, a wartime president. I mean, that's what we're fighting.
Oh God! Now he's talking about his legacy
a,
as a wartime president.
So first of all,
Gosh.
we're in a war in Afghanistan for 20 years. So I don't know why he decided now he's a wartime
Johnny,
president.
that's just presidential military action. That's not a war.
But
We're not like
but
killing
he-
people there.
You notice
Well.
he doesn't say we're in a wartime situation or wartime mobilization. He goes, yeah, wartime president, because it's about him. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
He
all
immediately
circles
has
back
to go.
to him.
It all circles about me. So yeah, I'm a wartime president. Not are we approaching it as a war as a nation?
He's
How
like,
are
I
you
like the sound of that.
personally as Donald approaching it. But that's what he meant, the Defense Mobilization Act. It's a wartime power that the president reserves to direct private companies and resources to certain places in times of war. So
Yeah.
it's not like the craziest thing for him to do
Especially
that
if
right
he has
now.
to be like, "Hey, Amazon, that warehouse is going to be a hospital. Sorry."
Yeah, like you might have to do that stuff. The scary thing is how far will Donald Trump take it?
Like elections are spreading the virus. No more elections until we figure this thing out.
Oh, look, it's
And
November.
I don't know when
I
this
guess no
episode's
elections
gonna.
this
Yeah.
year.
I don't know when this episode's gonna come out, but
Tomorrow
we should say
morning.
This is
Tomorrow
March
morning.
18th that we're talking about. He just said that
Last
in the
night.
late afternoon.
Also,
of
you might
March
be listening
18th.
to this in 2024, and you're like, "Oh, look at those idiots!" Before they realize this happened or whatever.
Or they might be like, "Ooh, look at this relic from the last age.
Right.
This is interesting, fascinating
So
insights."
if we're like in the last month of like
Yeah.
modern life as
Society.
we know it,
Yeah.
this could be like a weird like flash drive that gets discovered of this podcast, and they're like, "What is this shit?" It's like, "Oh, weird." How are they
Those were their
speaking to somebody
problems?
from Portland? Like, what? How did that work?
They drank beer.
Yeah, they must have had some way to connect over large distances.
Yeah.
I think it's much more likely future historians are trying to figure out how 80% of the population got autism from a brand new coronavirus vaccine, and this is going to be them trying to find it. out.
Oh shit.
There's your dystopian novel.
That's
right.
honestly, I thought I was at level 5 conspiracy with this thing. That's level whatever.
Because there are a
Higher
certain
than
amount of
mine.
people. There
level
are a
5
certain
and a
amount
half.
of people that whenever Tommy can't even. There's a certain amount of people that whenever they do find a vaccine, they're like, "No thanks, I'll take my chance with Corona." So what's the point of rushing to a vaccine anyways?
Well,
I mean, we should
people will
definitely
take
rush
it,
to a
though.
vaccine so that people
Yeah,
don't
because it
get
makes
sick.
a difference. I mean, flu vaccines do make a difference.
So many people don't die from the flu
Yeah.
because of the vaccine,
And so many people don't
And if you were
spread
in a
it
high risk
because-
group, you would
yeah.
definitely take the vaccine.
Well, a lot, and that's who with this. I mean, if and when they do come out with a vaccine, which probably that's part of the problem. It's not going to be for a while, but it's going to be those at-risk groups who get it first, and that's really who's at risk.
Right
That's
now.
why all of this is happening.
So
all of these changes is happening.
That's what I think from what my Googling research, because I don't know what I'm doing. What I think this is
welcome to
all
the club.
about is, a 6-week self-imposed quarantine and shutting of businesses, which seems crazy to us in our modern world, which is what's happening. I don't know about what currently is the standard in New York, but the governor of Oregon just extended it to April 28th, which is about 6 weeks from the beginning to then.
I haven't heard
bars,
it. So
restaurants,
I've heard
everything
it,
closed.
I've heard it like at least
Schools.
2 weeks in what we're in right now, which is no restaurants, no
New York's
going to
be
more than
New York's
50.
going to be shut down much longer. They just
For
haven't
months.
made it official yet.
And
sure.
San Francisco is self-imposed quarantine. Like, you're not supposed to leave your house except to get food or if you're an essential employee, and you can get in trouble if you're just out.
Isn't
just
it
hanging out
crazy
in the
when you
park and
compare
stuff.
like how our country has to do something like this compared with China, who was able to say 800 million people, you're under house arrest basically, and they stopped that virus in its tracks. Now it's almost definitely going to pop back up the second they go back to normal.
It already
Are they?
has. The number of cases from people coming from outside China have outpaced cases from China.
But
if
the
that
virus
makes
will
sense.
spread once society is mixing again.
Well, that's the whole idea with
It's
flattening
endemic.
the curve.
Yeah, it's here.
Yeah.
So that's
you're not
what I
gonna-
was getting to. The whole point of this isn't to stop it. It's too late. It's to flatten the bell curve.
to mitigate the exponential growth. Yeah.
And that's not even going to help anything. It's just we can't get enough hospital beds built in a month, that we need to slow down the number of cases. So actually, we're stretching out the pandemic,
Right.
Rather
Yeah.
than the other alternative would be try to infect everyone and just pile the corpses.
That's
up.
what the UK 's
Nobody
trying.
wants to.
That's what
Nobody
that's what's
wants to
happening
do
in
that.
Italy, though.
Well, that's what
Yeah,
happened
it's really
by
bad right there
accident
right
in
now.
Italy.
Right.
But the UK's policy is they separated people into 3 groups. So one group was like elderly and high risk. One group was like, middle aged but have immunity that's not as strong.
Yeah.
And then they had people that they didn't expect to have any problems.
Low risk.
And they
Yeah.
told those people to go about your normal lives. And they told the high risk people
Yeah.
to stay home. And they told the middle risk people to be smart.
And how's that working?
Well, people accuse them of like, oh, you're doing a system where you're going to let all these people die. It's like people are going to die no matter what.
There's no good answer. There's just probably better ways.
There's
to do it.
mathematically literate answers,
Right.
and it involves data I don't understand and exponential growth I don't understand.
Well, at least Trump's on it, so
Well,
it should be fine.
the problem is, I think,
fearless leader.
Johnny, I don't know if you watched like the Trump press conference with the Secretary of Treasury yesterday, but he had this like humbleness to him. Like for the first time, I've never seen Trump look a little bit like, I need help with this one.
Yeah, they cut off his hamburgers. Can't get to McDonald's
Right.
anymore.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah, he's just tired.
No,
He's
but
sleepy,
we
finally.
were saying this last night, Joe. I don't know if you remember. You were like wasted playing Wii bowling.
That checks out.
That you
Yeah,
remember.
as an
But
abstraction. I
you
believe
were
it.
agreeing with me that Trump seemed to have this humble energy in the press conference yesterday.
Well, I think he's finally uncertain about something because when he announced he had a press conference a week or so ago, it was the one where he announced that he was before all these much more severe restrictions, where he announced that he was closing off, basically doing a European travel ban for 30 days or whatever. And if you watch till the very end of that, and I don't know how easy it was to access it, but I think John Oliver showed him after that conference ended, and he just kind of sighs and goes, "All right, then."
Oh
He
yeah,
goes-
yeah. The
And it's
Oval
such,
Office.
yeah, it's
Okay.
such this like moment of uncertainty that I've never before seen in
like
Trump.
almost like a little nervous. Like
Yeah,
I thought I could just keep doing the Trump thing and it
Yeah.
would
And,
work.
and that reaction from anybody else would not register. But
Right.
the fact that he did it, Mr. Bravado did it, it was like, oh.
which
He
in
didn't
some
write
ways
that
is kind of a
speech,
good
though.
thing, I
I'm
guess.
pretty
like-
sure Kushner wrote it.
A president,
Oh, really?
a president in modern
Yeah.
days doesn't have to be like the brilliant general, right?
I mean, it
Because
can't hurt.
he's getting like he's sitting down in a room and like 5 of the top military people are giving him like the, let's say, 10 different plans of action. If like Russia starts like
Yeah.
building an army and like they're getting towards Alaska and you're
Well,
like,
that's how
what the fuck's
that's how
happening?
it's always
You'd be
worked,
like,
yeah.
what are our options? It's
Yeah.
like one option is we do this and show that we're not scared to start a war. Another
Yeah.
option, and like they basically deliver you the
Yeah.
information and the thinking, and you just have to have some judgment and hopefully,
Yeah.
if you're a good president, you have the wisdom
You're presented
to like
with 4 or 5
balance
options
all those
usually,
things. Yeah.
Which is
I don't know,
exactly
I
what he
think-
said about with the
killing the general.
Yeah, or with the Treasury Secretary, where they're like, "Yeah, we have 4 or 5 ways of doing this," and we're talking about that with the coming back to the topic of money with essentially what.
No, not coming back. Starting.
Yeah, right. Which looks like the rollout of I suppose you would call it temporary universal basic income, right? Like for the it's not in perpetuity.
Just
but
say what Trump announced yesterday for anyone who didn't hear about it.
well, they've actually been relatively vague on it. In general so far,
But numbers have come out.
well, I don't think they want to officially state any numbers yet until they're certain that we're going to follow through on it. Because you don't want to promise people $1,000
And
a
then
month.
it's 800.
Yeah, and then it's 800 all of a sudden. It's kind of like I always joke about with my students with due dates of papers. You can always move the due date further along in the semester. You can't move it up earlier.
Farther.
And it's the same thing with UBI. You can't promise $1,000 and give people 800. You can promise 800 and then give them 1,000.
And they'll be like, wow, they're really coming through.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Over-deliver.
psychology.
Yeah. Over deliver.
Yeah.
It is bullshit though, because he he's doing. If you notice, Trump does like this whole thing started with he goes, I'm putting Pence in charge.
Yeah.
And then
he wasn't
Pence,
taking it seriously early
and
on, though.
but then Pence's handling of it, like no one praised him, but no one said he's an idiot who made it worse.
It seemed very regular, yeah.
Right. So after that, then he takes credit in the clip we just heard, where he goes, "Yeah, we were doing it way earlier than it." Like he takes the credit. So now he has his Treasury Secretary come out and say, "Yeah, we might give some money out." If they do that and it's popular and it works, then he'll take credit for it. But he's not going to present something he's not 100% about.
Oh, that's true. He stood to the left as the Treasury Secretary proposed it.
That's
he
true,
can
yeah.
take. Yeah, that's a great point, Johnny. He can take full credit if it works, and if it's a shit show, he can be like, "I was listening to the experts." That's
If you're a CEO of your own company, you don't ever give the bad news. You just show up to give the good news. Somebody else from accounting is here to give you the bad news. Even though
that
you
makes
just
sense.
told them to give the bad news.
Yeah.
And that's a business move, but it's a Trump move. But
So he didn't say 1,000. Nobody said a number, but there have been like news reports leaking that it might be $1,000 a month. For
And they
3
did
months.
say that the Treasury Secretary did say that we are looking into sending Americans checks as soon as possible,
within by the end of the month,
right? Which means as
within
broad
2
of a way
weeks.
to say UBI as possible, that you're going to get $1,000.
Well, they're
this
not
is-
even on the same page about it. Do you see what Lindsey Graham said?
No.
A couple of days ago, he said, "I'm not interested in sending checks to money to people." He said it like it's an absurd idea. He said, "I'm interested in." Their response is, "Well, we're just not going to collect income tax. We're going to just waive the payroll tax, so you'll actually keep your full paycheck for this period."
Yeah, but there is
So
no
instead
paycheck.
of
Yeah,
10,
but-
20,
yeah.
right? That's what's absurd. It's only people who are still working,
which is the people that don't need extra money. Yeah.
who or don't need it as much. But
Right.
the Republicans, I think, are so scared of just handing out money and having it work that the left can just turn and go, "Told you," like, see, and it's going to be hard for them to walk that back.
But this is what I
Even-
was saying earlier.
But there does seem to be enough of a panic even from a lot of Republicans that like fuck that like little political game. I just don't want people with pitchforks.
Did you see
so to
Rand,
speak.
that's what it comes down
Did you
to.
see what Rand Paul added to the bill? They were trying to push that like quick relief program in just for like on insurance benefits and stuff, just to keep people afloat. And he's like, actually, no, it's going to have to wait a day because I want to put this amendment saying you have to end the war in Afghanistan. It's like, really? Like, that's the one time that both parties are agreeing on something.
And you have to be a little.
But
like,
the conspiracy side
earmark.
is saying that
Little asshole.
McConnell
Yeah.
has an election this year and Rand doesn't. So McConnell's masters are saying you can't let that happen. So Rand is taking the hit, and McConnell's saying, no, we're trying to work with the Democrats on this one. Rand Paul, go ahead and torpedo it for a bit, though. So that's the conspiracy. I'm going to keep jumping in just so you guys know when we go, oh, conspiracy, and then we say something crazy. It's the coverage on this is so broad and all over the place and moving so quickly that it is fun to just jump into conspiracy mode and then try to jump back to sane mode because the lines are blurring there.
Well,
So
you're
The
if
lines
people
you're
are,
seeing a lot of
more
people's
blurry for
interest
me
coming
than
out.
they've ever been personally.
So
You're
if
seeing
people
a
are
lot of
confu-
people who had interests, and now they're manifesting themselves, right?
Well, here's another conspiracy thing. They've given Wall Street and the financial sector like half a trillion already, right?
Have they?
Didn't
I think it
dump
was 800
or
billion,
50
something like that. yeah.
800 billion of quantitative easing. They just dumped into the markets to keep it from collapsing.
There was no like, oh my god, would this be crazy thing
Yeah.
for that?
Right.
It just happened.
but
That's
the,
sad.
the next bill that might have a UBI-ish thing in it is going to also give them another $800 billion and maybe give us $800 billion. So if you count the '08 one, this is 3 bailouts for Wall Street of $750 billion just for us to get one bailout. I don't think that's fair. I think it should be a 2-to-1 or 1-to-1.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's
about
sustainable.
time.
I think that's
what's
the
so
problem.
fucked up is if you look at the 2017 or like 2017-18 tax cuts from Trump, like for example, American Airlines used that money that they saved from the giant tax cut to buy up more of their own stock, which then got their high ups in the company and CEOs like crazy bonuses.
Yeah.
So we know that you need to help companies like an airline stay in business and stay liquid while their sales are like totally fucked and
Yeah.
But I mean, one, that's a shitty business model. That,
I don't know,
that
man.
You
Do
can't
you have-
sustain like a rough time. They don't do that for
Do you-
restaurants, as far as
Do you
I
get
know.
your Do you
Yeah.
get your
They might
water from
now.
Do you get your water from a private company? No. Like, why aren't airlines just nationalized? They should just be a utility. Same thing with internet.
At
and
least
airline
then
travel.
they wouldn't go out
That's
of
true,
business
like
because
trains
they're
are, subways.
built on
Yeah.
debt.
Yeah,
They're government.
like if
Yeah.
the New York City subway was a private company, it would be even worse than it already is. The MTA is already horribly mismanaged, but if they were a private company, they would have went bankrupt 50 years ago, and you'd just be taking cabs and freaking rickshaws everywhere in New York.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, you can't fly somewhere without an airline making like schedules and all that.
Yeah, and how many times are we going to bail out the airlines and then have to let them go back to those? Like a stock buyback, you can't tell a company they can't buy their own stock or sell their own stock.
I mean, you
'Cause
could, couldn't you?
that's
you could make
closer
that
to
a
like,
stipulation
Yeah,
of
why
like
couldn't-
giving them
see,
money.
that to me, that's too much government control. That's scarier than what everyone wants. All the
Yeah, but if you're
Republicans
giving
call
them $1 trillion,
socialism.
why can't you? Why can't
They
you
just
make
buy
that?
buy them out of the industry. Say, oh, you're going to go bankrupt. You're not going to make it. Well, we're not going to just hand you the money, but we'll be interested in buying the assets and reopening. But to start telling companies how they have to run their companies,
Will it be like the USPS of airlines? Like you have these private
is actually
options,
pretty
but there's
scary.
like the United States.
I would not.
What would you call it?
I would not fly on a post office airplane.
Yeah, no, I'm
Which
happy
they
to
do
mail
have.
a package. But
I think they do have their own fleet, don't they?
for
I would, man.
for
Those
packaging
mail
stuff,
trucks
of course,
are
yeah.
those mail trucks are aluminum frame trucks from the 70s that are still running.
Are they?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a sentence you said.
I think they just put different motors in them when they need it, and they just keep the same frame. Yeah.
What is this based on?
No, those motors are horrible. They get
Data,
like 4 miles
research.
per gallon.
Data.
No,
data's
those
in
car that
research.
fleet was built a really long time ago. They do need to replace mail trucks.
Well, in any
But-
event, UBI is coming.
So
Like, it looks like it's going to happen.
Let's talk a little
regardless,
bit
so.
about when the government
Yeah.
decides like we're going to basically what they already did and what they're going to do with this would be inject a bunch of money into circulation so as to keep things liquid and flowing because an economy once it gets jammed up nobody spends and things get fucked really quick.
It's scary. It's scarier than that. Right now, so many because it's like rolling layoffs out here in Portland, at least where I live. It's every day another because it hasn't been state ordered yet. These are companies voluntarily doing it as they see liability or they see business dropping off. There's a pub chain here called McMinimans. They're huge. They had 3,000 employees and like 100 locations between here and Washington. They shut down all but one of them and laid off 3,000 service industry employees in one day.
Yep.
And it's more and more companies every day. The place I work, I don't want to mention them because I don't know if they like our podcast yet, but they had to lay off like 120 of their restaurant staff, and it's like just bare bones in production just to package the beer we have and get it out to
Yeah.
the supermarket. So they're saying like they can't even the website state websites are just crashing for unemployment benefits. They're setting up call centers to just be able to process people and get them their benefits, and they're estimating anywhere between like 18 and 20 low 20% unemployment right now, which during
is-
the height of the Great Depression in
24, right?
America was 25%,
Something like
you
that,
could
yeah.
say. Unemployment, and that was like bread lines and full-on Dust Bowl, people wearing grain sacks for clothes at 25%, and we're like, and this happened pretty quickly. This has happened within a couple of weeks. And some cities and municipalities are doing things to help it. Like Portland just said they're not enforcing evictions. So if your tenants can't pay rent right now, sorry, landlord, you're screwed. Like they're
Yeah.
just not doing that. Governments are opening up like no interest loans, which doesn't really help. UBI would be better because it's a loan. Even at no interest, you still have to pay it back. And if you have a month with no business, you might not pay it back if your margins aren't big enough.
Yeah.
But we're close. If we're at 20% unemployment right now, it's going to get worse. If this goes on for 2 to 6 more weeks, even 1/4 of our economy of the year at 25 to 35% unemployment would totally crash the economy. And the only thing you can do to keep that going, the easiest thing you do is just give people checks, keep the wheels spinning. Nobody's on the bike, so when it hits the road again, it can move.
So Johnny, when you say crash the economy, what do you imagine that is, like in whatever level of detail you want?
So I'm looking at it from bars and restaurants, service industry, what I have experience in, and people are getting laid off. They're not moving right now because you can't really travel easily in the U.S., but they're already being like, I'm moving back home as soon as they open it up. Like, I can't afford this apartment if I don't get rehired, or I can't pay my rent, or I'm gonna go get a job at Amazon now. But let's say a bar has to shut down, a restaurant has to shut down. They're going to lay off 30 employees. They open up in 2 months. They lost all that inventory from where they closed. Like a lot of restaurants, they're allowing restaurants to stay open for to-go orders, and restaurants are doing it not because it's profitable or it's a great idea, but they have kitchens full of food they bought for St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Yeah.
I've had to eat corned beef every day this week because they told us that's all we get as a staff meal because they had corned beef for St. Patrick's Day and they're closed for it. So
do you think a lot of restaurants that are offering to go will stop once they run out of their supplies?
I think they will, or they'll go to a very limited menu. Like fresh food is going to
something they can easily profit off of and like just make really good like sandwiches or whatever. Yeah, something.
But like if a small business has to shutter its doors right now, and when they open up again, half of their employees are gone. The customers that used to come in haven't been working for months. Like Yang said it on some show recently. A company can fail very quickly, but like nothing ever picks up quickly. Unemployment can happen very quickly. Employment never skyrockets as suddenly. It's just ice melt. You know what I mean? Like you cut down a tree much faster than you can grow it. It's just one of those things.
Yeah.
Destruction is much quicker. So
that's why destruction is fire. It burns things, and then you have to like the forest regrows from the burnt shit that just got destroyed in one day.
We don't want to live through that though. So just to slow it down, is to just inject cash into it. And it's not even a who needs it or what's most fair. It's just get it out there. So just send everybody an equal amount and just to keep the wheels greased, keep the money moving. It's all about velocity. We'll get into the Federal Reserve and how our economy works in a bit, but it's all about the velocity of money. Like that was the problem in the Depression. People took a run on the banks, so banks couldn't give out any more credit or money to anyone. And people who had money were just sitting on it and not spending it. So the money stopped moving. Things stopped getting made. Things stopped selling. People don't the money's not changing hands. You can't get stuff. So you got to just keep that money circling. That's why everyone says, I think that's why Portland is not doing terribly, is because it's very locally minded to begin with. So if you have a vendor, like most places, if they're trying to be like locally conscious, most of their vendors are in the state or within an hour or two. So it's easier for these. It seems easier here at least than other places I've talked to for certain industries to stay at like a skeleton crew level functioning. Like, we're not running as many deliveries, but we're moving this or that because it's more localized to begin with. But so you just gotta keep it. You gotta keep things moving, and if people physically can't move between locations, it makes it really hard.
And also you got to keep that's what liquidity is, right? It's how freely can money become available and move and transfer ownership. So, for example,
but this is what's really weird about this time. Sorry, I just last bit, and then I want to hear what you have to say. Is I went to the bank and I took out like $1,000 in cash just because I'm worried what happens if
that's such a Johnny move.
Well, I'm just worried they close the banks and they're like, oh, the ATMs are open and there's lines at the ATMs and the ATMs run out of cash. I'm like, yeah, we'll restock it tomorrow.
Right.
And then there's a line. The line doesn't leave, so it's like I got to wait in line 3 days to get $300 in cash. So I got scared of that, but then I went somewhere, and the guy's like, "Oh no, can you use your card? Like, we're not taking cash."
Yeah,
right
we don't want
they don't want to handle
cash.
it.
Yeah,
it's like normally in an economic crisis, you can always revert to physical hard cash, but no one wants to touch it right now. Like, no, give me a credit card number I can use.
Yeah, so just tell me the number. Don't give me the card.
Yeah, it's weird this time, but go ahead.
I was going to say, what would your guess? Maybe you already know this. So money in circulation exists on different levels, and they measure like what level it is. I'm pretty sure what I read, it said like R0, R1, R2, R3, R4, and it depends on how liquid that money is. So cash money is R0. You can transfer that ownership to me right now by just giving me the $20 bill.
I will put it
now
right in your waistband. Yep, it's yours.
Yeah. So I'm like over you, dangling my cock, right?
Whoa! I just meant you're like holding groceries or something. So
yeah, that's what I meant.
You went to a dark place there.
No, I'm the grocery deliverer, but like I also do other things for.
I'm trying to socially distance. I'm just not trying to touch your hands. We'll bump elbows, and
you can't get the corona from a penis.
All right,
that's medical advice.
I'm going to pull up the CDC site and confirm that before we put that out to our listeners.
So, like, cash would be one level of money, obviously, but it's not all of the money that exists. So, what percentage of money of U.S. currency would you say exists as cash money, either in coins or paper?
Like 20%, 30%.
It's like 8.5. I forget the exact number, but it's less than 10.
It's very low. Most of our money is
most of our money is ones and zeros.
It's on a ledger.
Yeah, it's on a ledger somewhere. So let me just explain it this way. So if you imagine you have a bank, some simple version of a bank that has $1,000. So and that's maybe from like 10 different people putting in $100. A bank is allowed to give out 90% of the money that it has as loans and only retain 10% of the money.
But also that full 1,000 is insured by the FDIC.
Exactly. So all of this comes down to the fact that the federal government is ensuring that banks won't collapse. So first off, when the government bails out giant banks, part of that is because they realize they've created all these structures of money systems at these different levels, from cash level to debt level to like mortgages and all these things. And if the whole system collapsed, then everybody is fucked. Your $10,000 that you thought you had in your savings, well, that didn't actually exist in the bank. That's not liquid in the sense that you couldn't get that out immediately in its full amount. If it's 10 million, if it's 10,000, if it's 100,000, it just depends on how much you have. So, for example, a bank might loan out $900 to you if you want to start a new business, right? And then you take that $900 and you put some of it in your savings account because you're going to use it later. And then 800 of that 900 is used for your business and 100 is in your savings. Now 90 of that 100 is going out to somebody else's loan. And so for each person that has money in their savings,
banking works.
All this money is created by just the bank giving out loans, essentially creating money by creating debt. And the expectation is that the future will grow to be bigger than the past, and then that money will be able to be paid back as the economy grows. But the whole thing can be fucked with like one wrench going in between all those gears, which is what's happening right now, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is one way it can happen. This is weirder than the last economic thing we had in 2008 because it's not man-made and it's so across the board. In that case, it was what you're saying is the housing market crashing.
Yeah,
which was debt obligations. Like the bank is owed this money, so you could tell that the money they're giving out is good because they're worth something on paper. They own all these houses.
Yeah.
If people default, they can take those houses and resell them to get cash.
The problem would be if nobody's buying houses, then they have nothing.
If nobody's buying the houses that are now worthless, that they gave the value on, that undermines the whole system.
Exactly.
So
yeah.
In that case, you give them some money to shore up their books, and then set rules on how much cash they have to have in reserve in regards to those obligations, which is kind of somewhat what happened out of that crisis. This time is just everything stopping. Like there was, the interest rates were already super low at the federal level. The federal government could borrow money super cheap. Anybody could.
I wish my car loan rate would be as low as what the federal government's interest rate is. What is it right now?
0. They lowered it to 0 for this crisis.
So it's basically like a free loan.
It's a free loan. Yeah, well, not free. You still have to pay it back, but zero
Yeah.
interest loan, which it doesn't make sense for the lender because at best case scenario, you break even, you get nothing out of it.
What would be your best explanation of what the Federal Reserve is for anybody that
Federal
doesn't know?
Reserve-
That's like
So in when was it? 15? 14? In the early 1900s, a bunch of bankers got together and sat down with Woodrow Wilson or whoever was actually in charge and said, yeah, we're taking over. This is how it's done. And it's basically a banking cartel that controls the money. The U.S. government borrows from the Federal Reserve right? Isn't that how it works? The Treasury has the Federal Reserve give them the money to print our money with.
or to just inject as ones and zeros that say this now
spend,
exists.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so our government has to go to a private group to ask for money, unelected officials. Well, I guess the head of the Federal Reserve is appointed, but people who work there are not public servants.
And it's technically a private institution, as far as I understand.
And it's a private institution, yeah.
And so
Mark Wahlberg explained it great, actually. I know it sounds weird, but this is him explaining it.
okay.
And when I come back and bust your ass, we're locking David Urshan in the Federal Reserve.
You still didn't understand the concept.
How
Sorry,
would you know?
that's just from a movie where Will Ferrell's character keeps trying to explain to him what it is, and he keeps doing it wrong.
Wahlberg.
It's a great film. The Other Guys.
Yeah,
They're
what
buddy
film is
cop-
that? The
Buddy
Other
cop
Guys?
movie. Yeah.
Oh,
But he
that was
thinks-
yeah.
He's
yeah.
like, oh, so you lock him up in the Federal Reserve, or he's like, so then we can go to the Federal Reserve and like get some guns. Like he keeps thinking it's something else, and like,
Yeah.
being like I don't know what it is, so I'll say it's this.
It must
No,
be
it's not
some
that.
like fortress where all the money is kept. It's like not really.
It's a messed
more,
up. It's a messed up system, and it's not as old as people think. It's barely 100 years old. And in fact, I forget the exact quote, but even after being a wartime president, all the deaths in World War I, Woodrow Wilson said his biggest regret in his presidency was setting up the Federal Reserve. And he said it's something like "I sold our country out," or they, you know what I mean, something like that. Where's Joe going? He's done.
I don't know, Joe. You want to bring back a water? For you folks at home, we call Miller Lite water.
He's getting waters, John.
Well, then don't break that fourth wall.
What folks at home?
Yeah. No, the water thing.
Oh,
They might think we're just really hydrated.
oh, that's true. So yeah, as far as I understand it, it's something like if you want to give somebody a loan, like Johnny, if you wanted to give me a loan for $1,000, you would have to have some confidence that whatever idea I have is going to turn that $1,000 into more money that you can then at least get your money back, but hopefully because of interest or whatever, get your money and some back, right? Which means I have to really make your $1,000 turn into a lot more dollars.
Yeah.
Like it's built on the expectation of growth. But then when you see that based on the
Well, not
entire
necessarily, because it's also if you put up something as collateral that's worth, like almost as much to the loan. Like you just said, it's money the bank generated out of nothing, really. So they're like, oh, we'll give you a loan. You might default on it, but if you put up your house as collateral, we get a house out of it. We just got a house for cheaper than if we tried to buy it from you.
and then if you
not that banks are
fail
trying
on
to
your
get
loan
houses,
and we
but-
sell your house, we've still made a profit.
And if you succeed, we make, like you said, we make more than what we gave you.
Yeah, we
Either
make what we
way, they
calculate,
make more
yeah.
than what than what it cost them.
And they know that people who take out a loan obviously don't have the money.
Yeah.
So they're willing to think to themselves, well, $460 a month, I can handle that if the business does all right. And I'm not going to think about the 10-year loan life of how much money that would have actually paid back in interest because it's not my choice to be able to think about that because I have zero right now, which means I can't open a business. So I get the whole system and I think it works quite well, but it's so easily fucked when a major event reminds everyone that the growth that this whole thing depends on can be shut down and then the whole thing doesn't work. Like your credit
But
card
that's
doesn't
fine,
work
though,
if the whole
'cause-
thing shuts down.
And it's fine. Stuff's gonna come up like this. You know, they refer to them as like 100-year storms when a hurricane really devastates an area. Like Houston got hit a couple of years ago, and they're not. A 100-year storm used to be really bad when you lived in a handmade house with wood and a thatch roof. Like
Yeah.
it got fucked up. we have giant concrete shelters and technology and like diesel trucks to get fresh water to people after a storm. Like and weather freaking satellites to track the storm and be prepared. Like that stuff we're more prepared for. This we're really not. Just because we have way better medicine than we did 100 years ago, we're not any better prepared for it because we haven't prepared for it.
Well, not better prepared for it, but we're better in our reactionary stage now, I think, like with finding antivirals and potential.
Not just that. I mean, I'm talking about banking. Like our systems aren't resilient enough to handle just shutting down for a little while because they've never had to do that. In living memory, and so there's nothing wrong with banks making money, but maybe you or everybody making money, but maybe now a certain percentage of that should go into your hoarding war chest, whatever it is, as a bank, as an institution. Like, just have a warehouse full of ventilators that nobody's using, just in case. Your state's fucked. I was hearing Cuomo saying they have like 5,000 ventilators statewide, and they might need anywhere from 50 to 100,000 in the next 6
weeks. That's a lot more than 5. Yeah.
And that's like some serious healthcare rationing where 10 to 1%, 10 to 5%, 5 to 10% will maybe get treatment, and the rest are like, that's happening in Italy now. There's one area they said they just don't have enough staff and resources, and about half of the intensive care patients, like in this old folks area, are just going to die. They're just like, that's the rate it's happening, and we even if we had the resources, we can't get to them all.
Yeah,
well, that's the game we have to play now. We have to try to stop the curve or slow it down.
And so that's
why. I think would you agree that the drastic measures the U.S. took were so that we don't have to see on the news like that people are screaming, "Please save my sister," but the sister's 75 and they have no time for 75-year-olds when 60-year-olds need ventilators.
Or what happens when the hospital is so overrun and you get in a car accident or a gas line blows up on your street, something random,
and
you show up at the hospital and they go, "Sorry, it's a 17-day wait to get a hotel room, a hospital room right now."
Try a hotel room instead.
Try a hotel room instead. It's like, what? So that's when I think why they realize they're going to take up so many of the resources in our healthcare system that healthy people not affected by this virus that are going to get hurt or sick anyways, we're not going to have anything to do with them, and that's going to just keep backing up and backing up.
I mean, imagine if you're working, Johnny, and you just randomly had like a twisted ankle,
break your finger or something
simple that you would normally get a little cast for. Let's say you actually broke your ankle or something like that. They'll kind of laugh at you, be like, "Sorry, man, like you having a fucked up ankle is less fucked up than us deciding not to save someone because we." Or because we are trying to flatten the curve, maybe the orthopedist goes, "Sorry, I can't look at your ankle right now. Come back in 6 weeks." It's like, well, the bones will be starting to set by. Is that what they mean? They're trying to flatten the curve in your broken ankle? I have really steep arches. They call me Johnny McDonald because of the size of my arches. Who calls you Johnny McDonald? They, them, people in the field. Yeah. But it's and our healthcare industry is so fucked. Even if they just say, "Okay, we're not charging anyone for anything" or whatever, we just don't have the capacity for this kind of thing. What I forget if we said this Tommy, on the other. Right. That's cast, why. What? Like how many hospital beds exist per number of people in the U.S.? Is it 3,000 to 1 or something? Oregon, no, it's better than that. Oregon has the worst ratio of per capita. What is it? In the whole country. It's only like 1,000 empty beds. I think it's less now. It's like 900 empty beds statewide. And it's a small state population. I meant there's like 1 bed per 3,000 people in the U.S. generally. There's like 3 or 4 million people in Oregon, and there's like 900 empty beds. It's not great. Also, 3,000 is such a big number. Like, imagine if there were 3,000 people in the room with you right now. You'd be like, what the fuck? Like, that's like a little bit of Yankee Stadium all crammed into a hospital bed. That's not how that works. Yeah, so even if we take turns. And we're not even talking about everyone getting sick. We're talking about the small minority of people. A lot of people getting the disease, but the small minority of people that get it badly is still enough to destroy hospitals' ability to accommodate. It's pretty crazy. I can understand why they're being drastic because they don't want to have the situation arising all over the country where hospitals who otherwise would be able to save someone have to let people die. That's just like a
So
dark thing.
why aren't we just airdropping troops into San Francisco and having them just build tents and like forward command posts and like,
because one of the
don't-
weaknesses of being one of the strengths of being a country built on freedom and separate states and all of that, and a weaker federal government, is that it can't respond as efficiently to this. Like China was able to house arrest people. Turkey's doing a great job. They have like less
not
than 100
even that,
cases,
not
I
even
think.
limiting people's rights. I'm not saying to enforce a shutdown. I'm just saying like send the plane, send the Blackhawks, just drop troops like with a doctor with them, and just put the doctor in charge of the troops and be like, yeah, he can't order you to kill anybody, but like do whatever he says. He goes, okay, I need you to like set up the beds here, put the tent here. We need access to this electricals here and that. Like, why aren't they just? I don't understand why they're not mobilizing that way.
I
Maybe
mean,
they
it might
will.
go in that direction, but I feel like that would freak people out.
That is scary even to just say it, but
I mean,
I
like,
just feel like
I'm
we did
worried
it-
about the
we've
fact
done it
that
in
it's
other
happening
countries.
gradually, because it seems to be almost deliberately gradual in how they're stretching like
Yeah.
each stage, and each stage is accompanied by like at least a few days to a week worth of us adjusting to the new norm, which is how our psychology works. And then when they add the next thing, like you can't leave your house after 7 p.m., it's like that feels weird. And then when they add the next thing, which is like food will now be rationed out in each town, and then you're like, Jesus,
Yeah.
like, and then all of a
Pigs-
sudden
pigs-
you can't organize and figure out what to do.
Pigs don't sleep in beds, and then it changes to pigs don't sleep in beds with sheets. And you're like, well, that's fine.
Yeah. I was thinking more of the frog in the pot of boiling water kind of vibe.
No, I went full Animal Farm on you.
Some animals are more equal than other animals, Johnny.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to come up. Like, these are scary philosophical things we don't want to come up. So let's just flatten that curve so we don't have to start rationing care for people.
Yeah. And
And
by the
telling
way,
people, sorry, you're not worth
this
it,
would
go
be
home and die.
this would be a great time if you do have extra liquidity in your cash content to consider donating to the Thunk Tank podcast to help us through this difficult time.
Actually, no. I think we're all okay. People really should be giving money to like food banks, because think about like homeless people aren't
Maybe $1 to us.
Homeless people aren't being fed. Like city streets are empty. Just think about how many people just hand them their leftover
There's a lot
takeout
of
or
students
something.
not eating now too because the school's closed.
And yeah, how many kids aren't eating now? And maybe their parents, was a big. They could barely feed the kids one meal a day.
How many
They were
students
getting
bought
2
their
meals a
food
day with
in
school.
advance on their tuition, and they used their student ID to swipe campus food? Now they're like, I have no liquid cash flow to like go to the grocery store because I was
Yeah, you
planning
were
on
dumb
living on
enough to
campus.
you were dumb enough to fall for the Ponzi scheme that is higher education. I don't feel as bad for you as like Tommy's saying the K through 12 kids who they get a state provided. I think that's what you meant,
Yeah.
right, Tom?
Yes, it
a
is.
state provided lunch, and that is for a disturbing amount of Americans their most nutritious
large
meal of the
amount.
day.
Yeah.
And they struggle to get another shitty meal on top of that. Now that the good one's gone, what's going to happen to those? Are we? It's a whole thing.
Yeah, it gets kind of dark really fast.
I'd like to hear Tommy's thoughts. Tommy, what are you thinking?
About all of it, it's just wild what's going on. It's just one headline after another, and it's within every 24 hours something completely new is occurring. We didn't mention that the Canada border is now closed, I think.
Is
for
that?
some
I didn't hear that.
non-essential
Totally?
people. That was today. That happened, yeah. For Americans and Canadians, except essential traffic. That's what they called it. I saw the New
What
York
is that, like
Stock
food
Exchange.
deliveries?
I
Like-
think so. The New York Stock Exchange closed its floor for the first time while it's still running electronically. Because a couple people tested positive. I just saw 2 Congress people tested positive for it too.
Yeah.
It's just a lot's happening real quick. And again,
That's
it
what
feels
I'm
like
worried
you wake
about.
up in
That's
the
what I'm worried
morning
about.
and you're like, "Whoa, okay, well, like what's happened already today?"
Yeah, do you open your phone in the morning and just kind of go like, all right, let's see what the fuck happened,
Well,
and
it's
I'm ready
like-
for anything.
It's
I'm
like
really ready
I
for
wake up
anything.
too, and it's very surreal because my schedule 3 weeks ago was very different for the middle of the week like this.
Yeah,
And
you're
now
like,
it's
I got to get up early. I
Oh,
got to
like,
be on
what
my game.
day is it? Yeah.
For those who don't know, Tommy was doing like student teaching, and you probably want to be like on time for that shit and all that. And now you're like, school's closed potentially to the end of the year. What do
It's very,
I do?
very unprecedented. All of this.
It feels really
All of it,
weird
yeah.
for anybody who, I mean, if you're now working from home, I imagine that feels weird if you're teleconferencing into, meetings and office calls and whatnot. but I mean, for me as a music teacher, I'm doing a lot of Skype and FaceTime and whatever online service I can manage to get students to use, trying to keep money coming in that way. And it's working. It's not the best, but like, you know, whatever. If maybe 3/4 of my students do that, I can survive.
Yeah.
But it feels weird to not have any work.
Yeah, right. I'm fortunate enough. I guess I kind of got laid off, but the owner of the company I work at was like, I'll continue to pay you for the day or so that you usually work. But a lot of people aren't in that position.
Yeah.
They're just shit out of luck, pretty much.
Well, so like Joe, your job continues to pay you even if they cancel the semester. How does that work?
Yeah, we continue working remotely. We're not.
You're going to do online classes?
Yeah.
Okay,
We're not-
starting
we're not
after
doing
the spring break?
Yeah. Yeah, so they have contingency plans that they've been working on for a while now. So that will continue relatively smoothly. Again, you know, it comes back to the whole idea of UBI and how it's crazy how a lot of people don't see how important it is still. Like we were talking about politics earlier, and how so many of the service people and, you know, work that's just going to go away.
Like if you were a
Just
bartender
evaporating.
and maybe you were getting like
They need that
$2,000
type
a
of
week,
support.
you could have been doing great.
Yeah.
You
Not
know?
even,
And now you're getting zero.
It doesn't even have to be that. If you're a bartender or a server with a kid and you make, you know, $1,000 a week, you know, that's not a lot of money with a child. 4,000 a week, that's like 50 grand a year. A month, I mean, that's like 50 grand a year. That's not that much money. That's close to the median. And then you get unemployment, you apply for the unemployment, you get it. I think unemployment maxes out at like $400 or $500 though. So
I think $400, yeah.
a lot of service industry people, they're laying their employees off rather than just say, oh, we don't have any work, come back in 2 weeks, so they can get that unemployment. So it's something.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, like, this doesn't even begin to cover my bills. And sorry, like our company
funny enough,
doesn't have any money to pay you.
Joe, you know the bartender we know who's a Trump supporter?
Yeah.
So I would bet that if, let's say, a month ago, we were talking about Andrew Yang's universal basic income plan, the freedom dividend, it would be laughed at and said that's stupid and ridiculous, just blah, 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 work hard, all this stuff. And I bet that same person will now be like very for it, both because they do have kids and relied on the bartending job to support those kids and have a house and all that. And also because they're just looking at their own, you know, balance sheet and being like, holy shit.
Well, I've already
I
seen
need
that
money.
on Facebook and whatever other nonsense trash social media platforms where people on the left are ironically trashing Trump
for having the
specifically
most
for his for his UBI plan for $1,000 a month, and people on the right saying this is great. And I'm flabbergasted by the fact that maybe there's other things attached to these bills that you can say you don't like, but they're even harping on that specific point of the policy in isolation and saying how ridiculous it is. And it's like, you're still just partisan. You're still, if Trump says it and
if a virus isn't enough
it.
to get you unpartisan, like what is? Come on.
And if
Trump's can be a narcissist, awful person, but he can do a good thing. You can separate things from people.
No.
Can't you?
No.
Joe?
No.
Can't you?
Shame. Not enough. Too little, too late.
Is it weird that it feels good when you shame me now?
Feels great.
Is there going to be some kind of like fetish thing where it's like, shame me?
Shame me, Daddy.
Tell me how racist and sexist I am.
I think that's what it comes down to.
No, it'd be tell me, mommy, wouldn't it?
I'll tell you what I want to tell you.
Okay. Sorry, mommy.
But yeah, the whole, I don't know.
Do you think it will? So here's my theory of how it's going down is that the Republicans, because Trump is pushing for it, and Trump is not pushing for it so much out of a compassion place. I think Trump is pushing for it out of a place of like, I don't want to have a legacy that's bad.
Yeah, for sure.
And
that's
it
whatever,
seems like this needs to be done.
Whatever other factors are at play.
And he's in over his head.
Yeah, it's always at least 75% ego. I do agree with the idea that he does have elements of compassion. You know, whenever we demonize other people, you have to come back to the reality that these people don't see themselves and they genuinely don't believe themselves as the bad guy. Trump is the hero of his story.
Yeah.
And it's ironic that, for whatever reasons, obviously, people disagree with that. But yeah, I mean, how much is actual compassion versus his actual?
I don't think
ego?
it's zero compassion.
They're not mutually exclusive necessarily.
Yeah,
but I think it gets into a much larger issue that we've sort of been ignoring, going back to this idea of outsourcing jobs and essentially how a large sector of our economy is what we call the gig economy. And so many of those gigs now are either suspended or going away. And it reminds me of the fact, I mean, you've worked in food service before, and I know many of us have. And the reality is that this never worked to begin with. This was already a very tenuous, untenable, unsustainable system.
Yeah.
And the point, the example I was making to Tommy earlier, we were talking about, is that there's no reality, there's no plausible reality where you should be able to sit down in a nice restaurant and have a steak for $18. That's not how much that costs. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
How did a cow get there on your plate, all fixed up, all nice, with smiling people handing them to you?
Maybe
it doesn't work. You're not actually paying for that.
It's possible you've never seen a cow.
Yeah,
You
I
know?
think a lot of people probably.
Yeah, I have seen cows.
Congratulations.
Have you seen a cow, Tommy?
Yes.
Have you seen a cow, Joe?
When was the last time you saw a cow?
It was last August down in Virginia. I was staying on a farm, part of this music festival.
Okay.
Johnny,
When
have
was
you
the
ever
last
seen
time
a cow?
before that?
That's
Wait,
specific.
what time have you seen a cow before that?
I know
Was
I
that
look
your
really
first
proud
cow?
about cows, and it's just because I live with them for like 7 days.
Yeah.
You
and
should
they were
not talk
outside
about
my
your
window.
current fiance like that.
Talk about a callback. But that's my argument. My main argument for UBI is that the people supporting this way of life for everybody else, if you look at the service industry as an example, of course it's falling apart now. It wasn't a sustainable system to begin with. You need to be giving more if you want to reap the benefits of having these nice things for everybody else.
And I mean, do you like going out to restaurants? Well, then you have to support the thing that makes restaurants work, which is right now still human beings.
Right, exactly. You haven't automated them away just yet.
And nor would you want to.
Well, that's the ironic thing.
You wouldn't want to go to would you go to a restaurant where the servers and the cooks are all robots?
If it's half as much.
I personally wouldn't.
A lot of people will
What's
do
that robot we saw walking around Stop and Shop?
Oh, the cleaning robot.
He's not
yeah.
walking.
Luke, it's called a vending
Freaked me
machine,
out.
just so you know.
Hovering around.
I know, but I
exists.
pay $1.50 and I don't sit down inside the vending machine.
But Yang called
Not
it.
yet.
Yang rephrased what he said. Like the first interview after it kind of got out that Trump was going to do UBI, or at least the first interview I read with him, and he said that the Trump White House has been in contact with him because they're like, yeah, tell us what you know about UBI and how to do it and all that.
And that tells me that Trump, instead of being the normal, I'm controlling everything, that's the humility I was noticing in him. Is
No,
that
I think that's just
he's
the staff, though.
no, but I
it's
think he's a
Trump.
little bit scared. Where
I think
he
is,
told
yeah.
his staff, like,
Yeah,
"Can you
it
figure
out.
this one out
Yeah,
for
do
me?"
what you got to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. But it all comes back to his legacy. But anyways, Andrew Yang said that his mistake. You know what his mistake was in the campaign was talking about UBI with automation. He said I should have been talking about pandemics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he
but
said
then
in
he would've-
retrospect it makes, but it's creating the same effect as automation. Where you have all
Except
these people
really
now.
quickly.
Right?
Yeah.
You're going to have 25% unemployment.
It happened.
Like,
It happened. What
right.
he claimed would happen over 10 years happened
over
over one
Yeah,
1 week.
Yeah, a couple of weeks. But
Because
he
if-
also
if-
said this, how there would be jumps where all of a sudden robot trucks come online and a bunch of companies order 100,000 of them. It's 100,000 jobs gone.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Yeah.
And
in one day.
Right.
Yeah.
And those jumps add up.
And then they would
time.
crash economies as the truck drivers are no longer going to the diner. They're
Yeah.
no longer ordering the new
all
shoes they need on
economies
Amazon. These are all
around-
things I
around
just
those
did.
jobs.
so never
Yeah,
mind.
Yeah.
because there's economies involved with those jobs too. The,
Yeah, exactly.
The rest stops
yeah.
and all that.
It
stuff
all
too, yeah.
depends on itself.
Right. It's all
Interdependence.
integrated.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Joe, how many seasonal jobs do you think there are, or industries that they're like, oh, the weather's about to start getting nice. We were struggling through the winter. Now's our good season, and they just shut down for 2 months. How many of those are going to just not be able
Well,
to
there's
survive?
already small businesses that I can tell you right now are going to be gone just from missing St. Patty's Day.
Well, St. Patty's
Yeah.
week.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you see that
Irish bars and
Yeah.
stuff, small Irish
Did you
bars.
see
that's
that
gonna be
post
the
by
biggest day of the year
McSorley's
for them.
in Manhattan? You know McSorley's, that famous
Yeah.
bar?
Yeah.
They've never closed since, like, I forget the year, like
Yeah.
a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
And they were pleading to the mayor, like, do you understand what we understand your job of, like, the protecting from a pandemic,
Yeah.
but do you understand you have to do something?
Yeah.
Because none of these places and none of the people that work there will survive this
Yeah.
without.
Well, and this is my
Help.
argument with essentially taking money from the billionaires or just people who have money. I don't know the right way to do that, but it has to be done. You can't just
Here's one way.
take
How
away
about
from
Mike
these small
Bloomberg doesn't
companies.
narcissistically run for president and spend $500 billion
that's
$500
a
million
cash injection into the economy.
Like,
he's creating jobs.
He could solve at least a couple towns worth of problems with.
I think
his
he agreed. Didn't he agree to donate like $45 million to like coronavirus testing? And it's like,
Fuck that.
Thanks.
$45 million. How about you give 60% of your income? You know why though? Most of his income is not liquid right now.
yeah, well, it's not real. How
It's
much
not-
is he worth? Like 80 billion?
It's something in the
60 something.
Yeah, it's in the high billions. What is Bezos, the Amazon guy, worth?
Yeah.
It's also not
Well, so-
actual cash.
Yeah, it's not liquid, right? It's
Somebody
just-
put it.
Yeah.
I saw a meme that somebody put it into perspective where they said
Bezos
if
is
you're,
111
yeah,
billion.
if,
That's so much.
if you're a New
Yeah,
York
is
City
that
person that
post-divorce?
has $500 in their bank account,
As of 2020,
which is a lot
so,
of people
I don't
who
know.
live in New York City probably,
Yeah.
and you spend whatever $250 to buy a new Metro card, you still you've spent like more money than Mike Bloomberg like will spend on whatever he's spending on.
yeah.
Yeah, Joe, I heard somebody say they were like, everyone thinks he spent so much money on this campaign, but they're like, I bet he spent less than he saved since the Trump tax cut.
Sure.
I bet
Yeah.
that was all
Yeah,
just
yeah.
Trump tax cut money, and he
Yeah.
still is in the black than he would have been under a,
Well, that's what
excuse me.
bothers me when
Under
when
a
people-
Hillary presidency.
Yeah, when people talk about, look at this, they donated all this money to these foundations and charities, and my instinct, which is I don't know, maybe perhaps it's a little cynical, but I think it's probably accurate, which is that money is now non-taxable because it's donated money, right? And
Well,
you were
so-
going to lose that money to taxes anyways. So it's good that you directed it towards something that's maybe a good cause and that you care about, but you're really not any more of a great person than the fact that you took time to realize that yeah, you should be doing more, if not a lot more.
I think nonprofits are 501 corps is the title, is the thing, and they have to spend 5% of their endowment a year
That's nothing.
yeah. And whereas capital gains is 15% and income tax is way more. So if I dump a bunch of money into a charity, I can write that off towards my capital gains tax, and then that place only has to spend a small amount on whatever their thing is. And then also those board positions in those charities are now a form of liquidity you can hand out. And
Yeah.
like, well, I can't just give you $1 million cash because the government's going to take a bunch and people can track the transaction and it'll make me look crooked because I'm getting something from you out of it, influence or whatever.
Right.
But if I just hire you to work for my charity and pay you $800,000 a year salary or whatever it is, that's fine. You just go help the kids or go fight, go hand out condoms, whatever the thing is we're saying. But as long as we're not posting a profit, people are still making money if they work for it. Sorry, I'm going full conspiracy, Johnny.
No, I mean that all absolutely checks out essentially, right? But
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I just
But
I
now
feel
it's
as if
just
the
railing
chickens
against
are
rich
essentially coming home to roost. Where
Ooh, I love that expression.
it's true. It's like the economy.
What chickens have you
hasn't
been cooking up,
working.
U.S. economy?
Yeah, it hasn't been working for most people, and it's finally showing its true colors in terms of how the system is so ineffective in terms of distributing wealth even reasonably equally. Where oh yeah, people are out of work now, we can survive on our savings. No, we can't. There are no savings. All the savings are being held by these people who have millions and billions of dollars.
It's all concentrated to one side. It's like all the chairs have slowly been pushed to one side of the room.
Yeah.
And now they're telling everyone on the other in the middle of the room
sit
to
down.
sit down.
Yeah.
And it's like that guy has 8 chairs. Whoa. These are my
Yeah.
chairs.
Yeah,
earned
I
these
worked hard
chairs.
for these chairs, and
And it's like,
I want to
okay,
switch
I
out
worked
chairs
hard
every
for-
now and then.
Yeah, I worked hard too, and now I have to stand in the middle of the room. You're right, Joe. It's just the system's been slowly sliding this way for so long that
That's the expression. By the way, what does that expression mean? The chickens are coming home to roost.
I think it means
It means like, what does that mean?
Wait, are the chickens?
I know
banging the
what it
roosters?
means. Like it means like the things you do now that are not right and are not based in
Siri.
truth and something good
Alexa.
will come back to bite you in the future, right?
Right.
Like you will sow the seeds of your own destruction.
Right. Or
But what does the chickens and roosting have to do
Yeah,
with
chickens don't have seeds; they have eggs.
it?
well, those are seeds. They're meat seeds.
Yeah, but what is the
that's true,
chickens
too.
coming home to roost? What does that mean? Like the chickens that you let out will come back and fuck the roosters? Like
No, I
That's
think
what I'm
that's what it is. The chickens, you let the chickens out, and then they go and be chickens or whatever. Yeah, and they go chicken around. So maybe it's that it seems calm and peaceful at the chicken coop. Like, oh, it's nice and quiet here. Like, this is a good spot. I can
sit
hang out.
around and cook.
Yeah.
Well, you have to play it now.
Yeah, now I want to hear that more
my
than whatever
thumb just hit
nonsense
into
I'm
that
You have to play the whole
on
clip.
purpose.
Yeah.
All right, so this was a woman that on Instagram.
Oh, we
that
have
was
breaking
asked,
news, folks. New clip just in.
This is Melania Trump. Somebody asked her, "What are you going to do while you're on lockdown?" And she had this to say:
Probably sit around and cook some soups and eat bread and desserts and just get all fat and sassy.
"Just get all fat and sassy." She gets a little sexy at the end. Trust me, you don't want to see what she looks like.
Wow.
That wasn't Melania
All
Trump.
right, then.
If you're an idiot and you thought that was Melania Trump,
So
sorry.
in the last 30 seconds, you fat shamed, you Melania shamed, and you're just better than everyone else.
And you lied to us.
yeah, you're a liar.
Make some soups and eat some breads and sweets and get all fat and sassy.
I am like I still have work and I didn't realize, and it's a newish job. I didn't realize how nice it is to go somewhere and talk to people every day.
Right,
I
yeah.
can't imagine just being stuck in your apartment. And how many people just don't have? How many awkward people don't have a big friend group, or they don't have any family, and like their work community, that's their
And they can't go out to a bar.
Yeah,
yeah.
that's
Yeah,
their
they were
human
essentially Michael
interaction.
Scotts.
Yeah, when they have to.
Yeah,
do,
what are the Michael
when-
Scotts doing?
Right. What are the Michael
Nothing.
Scotts doing? They're just in their apartments making French toast. Like they don't have for nobody.
Grilling their
Just
feet.
stacking up. Yeah. I don't know. I think a lot of weirdness is going to come out of this. You know, people are going to get weird habits. You know, like
Yeah.
I just got really used to wearing the same pair of underwear, or like just obsessively washing my hands. Like how many people started washing their hands obsessively for this and aren't going to stop?
That's
Right.
a good thing, though. I think if one
know?
good thing,
I mean, it's
comes
flu
from this,
season, yeah.
people are finally we were talking about this earlier too. How this is the first time and I think it's much more impactful now than it was even then. But this is the first time I remember the entire world kind of being on the same page since 9/11, essentially. And the manifestation of that, the earliest one, was just everybody washing their hands across the board. Everybody I saw in any bathroom anywhere, public restroom. And that's
How
a good
much of
thing.
that was selfish, I don't want to get sick, versus I don't want to participate in the spread of this for the vulnerable people in my
Well, I
society?
know for me, it's both.
It doesn't matter.
I think it's
Yeah.
both, but I
For
think
me, it was
if I'm
definitely
being
both.
honest, like, I there's something in our psychology that's just like repulsed by the idea of getting a virus that you know is destroying your body.
But that's a good thing. That's
It's good, yeah.
evolutionary. Yeah.
I don't even think.
But I'm
it's
saying so
ju-
many people are ignoring this and just going out and being like, "It's
Oh
spring
yeah, look
break,
at the spring
woohoo."
break people. Yeah, those fucks.
Yeah, I don't think this
they're
is
getting
like
doxxed hard online.
we were much more on the same page with 9/11. Like the beaches in Florida are still open. Like the people are still going to bars and stuff. We were
yeah,
we
but
were
that's
much
those
more-
are those are Gen Zers or whatever. They're not human anyways.
I mean, they're
I know,
very
I don't-
they're not deep valued individuals as far as I've encountered.
no.
Yeah, I don't
not the ones
appreciate-
on the beaches for spring
Yeah.
break in Miami. If you're not on, because the fact is, you look at cities like San Francisco, which are shut down, and then there are assholes just raging in these close quarters and bars.
Or
like
have you seen
Palm
those
Beach.
college towns
Like,
where like they
get
start
real.
riots and the police have to like come in and like be like, just go in your houses and be humans, and they're like, but we can be wasted in the streets and burning couches. And it's like,
Wait,
yeah,
when
you
was this?
can. At some college in Ohio, when everything shut down,
Oh, really?
all the houses from like the
recently,
same
like
neighborhood.
in this pandemic.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I saw something
Yeah,
on
it
Twitter.
just sounds
yeah.
like normal Ohio to me. So
Just sounds like a Tuesday.
Yeah,
in
then
Ohio.
again, like when
Everybody's
there's a
sitting around
football
getting
game,
fat
they
and
do
sassy.
that. So
that's
Just
a problem
go inside
in-
and get fat and sassy.
make some
That's-
soup.
That's a problem in the Oregon coast. There's this big fight going on right now because spring break, it's a seasonal place. In the winter, they don't do well. So spring break is the first big pop they get
Yeah,
of
sure.
the season. And they were expecting like a lot of people to come because people are thinking, I'm coming from a city. I'm going to go stay in a beach house. So there'll be less people around.
Fewer.
Like, we'll bring our own stuff or we'll just order takeout and hang out in the house, the beach house. So local businesses are still hoping people come. But like, other people are like, no, there's not enough hospital beds here.
Yeah.
If you
If
come
there's
in
an
and get
outbreak,
sick,
yeah, right.
If you come and get sick here, you screw everyone who lives here year round.
Yeah.
And you're tourist sick people now. And so there's a weird fight back and forth between people still trying to make money to stay alive.
Right.
And people being like, no, that's not responsible. It'll make things worse.
That's the difference between us and a China. China would just say, yeah, you're done. You're staying
more
inside
movement.
or we'll hit you. We'll
Kill you.
We'll do China shit. Yeah.
Put you in a cage.
Or mommy
shoot
will
you.
be mad. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. I mean, I think the big takeaway from this is that it is good that we're sort of learning how to react in a situation like this. As poorly as we are, at least it seems like we're relatively on some sort of page. And to me, like the UBI thing, I mean, if it works, this is a good test run for that.
I mean, every bad thing has a silver lining, and that would be one of them. And even if they only do it for 3 months, and even if
I actually just read an update on that.
what is it?
So the bill that they proposed, they're trying to work out the details, and they said they hope by the end of the week they'll be able to pass something next week so that checks come by the first week of April or the end of March, first week of April. But essentially, it's almost $1 trillion stimulus package, and they said I think $200 billion would be for small businesses, and then there would be 2 rounds of over $200 billion in check relief, basically UBI. So I think that works out to about $1,000 an adult a month. So it
For
looks,
how many months though?
for 2 months, I think.
Okay.
I mean, again,
200 billion? No.
yeah,
But it's not for all adults. They're going to have a cutoff at some income level.
Yeah, they would.
Oh, that's
Whereas like
bullshit.
Yang's UBI
Yeah, it should be
thing had
everybody.
no cutoff, you know?
Yeah, because what's his name? Mnuchin even said, he's like, yeah, it's not like millionaires need $1,000 more a month. And I'm listening to this like, what the fuck world is this?
They're
But
going to
also,
set it
Where
at
the
like
Republicans are like,
75
not
grand,
everybody
though.
needs $1 million, but people who really
You
do
know what
need
that made me think when I saw that though? I thought they're a little panicked. They're spooked.
Yeah, they are spooked. Yeah, they don't want
Because they know their whole system depends on all the
And if
lower
the system
people
falls
spending
down,
money
they
and
get no
circulating
gold.
money.
They know that they need to. If it gets stretched thin enough and it breaks, now we have no gold to play with.
No, they know they're
Yeah.
That's it.
they're on equal footing to the plumber that needs the $1,000 because their business fired them because they're not getting any plumbing calls right now from like businesses. Let's say that plumber can beat the shit out of Jeff Bezos.
No, it's a much
If he's
simpler
hungry?
metaphor.
If his
Is-
money doesn't matter anymore
Yeah.
and like all that
Yeah,
ones
if
and
he's
zeros
hungry.
goes away.
Here's
Yeah.
a much simpler metaphor: is they're the ones in charge of the kickball right now. If they let the kickball go flat,
Yeah.
everyone's going to just go home, and they don't get to be in charge of anything.
Yeah, yeah.
So they got to
That's
be
also
like, let's
Let's
do
keep
this
the
with
kickball game going.
It's like
Let's keep
except
that ball
it's
filled
kickball
up.
with pitchforks and torches.
Yeah. Normally, I say I won't pump it.
Yeah.
I'll pump it up a little bit because I don't want everyone to go home.
I just wish they had. I doubt it's going to be included in the bill, but that they had some sort of contingency to address the fact that this is just stimulus. There's no source of revenue to do this. But maybe that's what they were talking.
No,
to
the
Yang
source
about.
of revenue is that we will make it through the pandemic. The economy will
Yeah.
pick back
No,
up,
it's-
and then
it's-
it will
yeah.
continue to grow. That's the
problem is
Yeah,
if this
I guess,
doesn't.
but-
Otherwise, no
is
one would loan that money,
Right.
loan that
To-
money,
to the-
create that
to
money.
the economy.
Yeah.
This
essentially,
is
yeah.
what it is, Joe. They don't actually give a fuck about you or you making it through.
Oh,
this
I'm
crisis.
well aware. Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying for the listener, they don't give a fuck about that.
We
What
care
they
about you, listener,
is
but they
Donate.
don't.
we do. Of course, we do it.
You're getting UBI. What are you going to do with
Yeah,
it?
donate some of your UBI to Thug Tank.
We do
Woo!
all of this for you guys, the listener, because we care.
That's
but,
true.
What they
It is
care
known.
about is that if this goes on for too long, then there is no tax money coming in. That's why,
Yeah, right.
they, like a lot, New York State where you live
That's a
and
good point,
Oregon
yeah.
State where I live, just changed the laws, and a bunch of other states are to specifically something that's been outlawed since Prohibition, because you used to be able to do this. It's been outlawed since then. Home delivery of alcohol sales. Not because bars and restaurants are hurting so much, which they are, but because like 40% of the price of alcohol is tax money. That's where it goes. It gets taxed when
All
they make
through the
it. It gets
system,
taxed when they distribute it. It gets taxed when they retail it. It's the 3-tier system. We'll cover it in a different cast. I can go on about it. But the point is there's a tax at each level, and then there's a tax at the ingredient. So it's like 40-something% is tax. So if there's no alcohol being bought and drank, And if this goes on for too long, then the government has no money coming in.
Right,
And that's
yeah.
not just the federal government.
Right.
That,
That's
oh,
all
they
the
have
local
Federal
things,
Reserve.
That's
It's
true.
all the local
Yeah.
municipalities.
So it's
that's
worth running
police
a
stations not
deficit
able.
because whatever.
It's worth throwing a little more on the credit card because fuck it, we already can't pay it all.
I mean,
What
how
is
much
the
is
deficit up
the
to?
federal credit card debt?
We might as well keep the lights on. You know?
What is it, like 30 trillion now? It's something
I don't even
insane,
want to think
right?
about it.
It's
It
unpayable.
doubles like
That's what
every
worries
few
me
years.
is the fact that we've been wasting so much money so long.
Well, they know it's unpayable,
Well,
but they
we
just
just
have
go
to keep
into-
paying it.
But
back,
Obama was
like your
actually
loan.
working towards lowering the deficit. I think when he left, it was
Oh.
he had shrunk it from close to $1 trillion a year to less.
All right,
than
you say that. What do you think
500
that
billion.
means for someone to shrink the deficit? And I know what it means
it's
on
to
the
shrink
personal
that-
level. It means
it's
I
to
have
means-
5,000 debt and
No,
I
no,
pay
no.
some of it off.
That's
What
not
does
what
it
it's
mean
not
for
what
the
it- no,
federal
that's
government?
not what
No,
it
that's
means.
not what it means. What it
It
means is that
you
when Obama
Sorry.
took office, the federal budget was spending $1 trillion a year that they didn't have. $1 trillion extra a year. But when Obama left, he had shrunk that deficit, that yearly spending gap, to under
Oh,
500
so you're saying
billion.
they were still creating debt, but
Yes,
less debt.
at a less higher rate. And since Trump took over,
Yeah.
he said, fuck it, I don't care. He actually has said, he's on record saying, I don't care about the deficit. And it's now back over $1 trillion because of his tax cuts.
Most of that money is owed to China, too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Actually, China sold a lot of that off to other Asian countries.
Yeah, but we've said the
It's
word
held by a
we've
bunch
said
of
the word
whatever.
money a lot. Johnny, how would you define money?
Money. You should read Baroque Cycle if you want to learn about money.
It technically, I think it's
Listen to
the
our
cur-
Baroque Cycle cast.
You should. He covers the birth of this system and the roots of it very well, like Shannon and Bide. But it's described technically as the value for which goods and services are exchanged. And I would say it's the value by which they're exchanged. It's just an intermediary. Money isn't a thing. Money's been backed by different things in different times. Sometimes it's precious metals because they're rare and they'll last, whereas cash and government backing didn't. Gold doesn't tarnish or rust, so it's worth more than other things. Other times, like right now, I would say it's backed by the energy, what you can get out of it. How much hot water can you get for $1? How much it's
Like an energy storage unit. Almost.
Because it's about because we're a consumption society, so it's about how much beer is this $1 worth? Like how much can they get?
And we
for beer
measure
from
our
me at
money in terms of what we know we can convert it to. Like
So-
I know $10 gets me a 6-pack of good beer at the grocery store, or it gets me eggs and cheese, and I can convert my money to actual real world things that I need. Yeah.
For me, I see the big variable in our modern world because of all the technology we have is energy. Is whatever electricity, oil, how many hydrocarbons go into whatever you're buying. With
Imagine
that
if the
dollar.
internet
That's
goes
the
out.
root cost of most things.
Right now, as
Might
we're
buy
all
a
at
thunk
home,
tank.
I'm
Yeah,
pretty sure
that's
that would like really fuck with so many things.
Well, Starlink then.
but,
Starlink it up.
I mean, the internet and electricity and all these things.
Yeah, if you
that
get like
costs money.
a coronal mass ejection or something, like a super solar flare that just knocks out the satellites.
Oh
that
God,
give us
I was saying
internet.
this the other day, Johnny.
That's entirely
That would be
possible.
worse. And we were all super healthy. That would probably be worse. Than
That
what's
would be
happening
way
now.
worse.
Did I text?
Yeah.
Did I
That'd be
text
so
this
bad.
to the group or not, or did I just think this the other night? But I was like, what would
you thunk
like the collective
Nobody
world
knows
do
what-
if in the middle of this pandemic it gets found out that in 3 months NASA just discovered a planet-destroying asteroid heading right for the Earth? And now
See,
we've
I
got
was
to
thinking
also
you
pass
did-
a stimulus package of figure
fuck
out how
it.
to deflect the asteroid.
Swipe that card, baby.
Swipe that card.
That'd be my
yeah,
campaign slogan. Swipe that card. Swipe
I was
that
saying-
card.
I'd vote for you.
Yeah, see, it works.
would.
Yeah.
It sounds
I was
good.
saying last night to Kara, what if this is when the aliens are looking and they're like, looks like most of them left. Let's stop by. We've been meaning to visit there for a while. It was
Yeah,
just crowded. Like, what if now is they're like, hey, look, they're leaving all these cities empty. Let's go check it out, see if there's anything cool. And then they land and they're like, oh shit, they're all still here. That would be pretty cool.
And then one of the aliens gets sick and they're like, what's going on? It's like, oh, it's one of those coronaviruses. Here, have this tablet. And it's like, yeah, you're good. They don't
it'd be
even
more
need
likely
tablets.
it'd be more like you allow this to happen in your society. It's like, oh yeah, these things rage through and sometimes wipe us out. Like, and we're just gonna caution tape off this whole planet. I think that's
caution
already
off the
happened.
solar system just for safety.
I'm
That's
pretty sure
Hitchhiker's
if
Guide to the
aliens-
Galaxy style.
Yeah, if they have found us, that they've caution taped us off.
Do you think so? We're just kind of a petri dish that they're, just let them do their thing for a while.
I think it's either
be an
that,
exhibit.
either they
Yeah,
found
zoo.
us and we're so horrifying, they're like, don't fuck with that, or they like we're a grad student's, thesis paper basically.
But
And
it
they're
could just be
yeah,
an
that's
anthill.
pretty good.
We're a
first
grad
try.
student's thesis simulation on his
That's entirely
on his
possible.
MacBook.
That's what I mean.
8000.
And it's like, and you'd be like, it's not the best quality work, but okay, it's passable. I see what you were going for there. Or it's like, this is the alien version of cow tipping or like bestiality. It's like, oh my God, did you really create angry monkeys on a planet? You know, there's rules against that.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like, you know, like this is the illegal thing that you do.
Yeah,
And-
some Rick Sanchez type shit.
yeah, it's like you're
Rick
really
and
not
Morty,
supposed
yeah.
to be doing.
I think it's
doing
more
this
it's more
guy.
likely an anthill type scenario where we're just because if you look at our positioning in the galaxy and our galaxy in the super galaxy cluster and all that shit, they might just see us sometimes and say whatever. Why would we go there? Why would you go up to an anthill and stare at it unless you're?
I mean,
a
I don't go
stupid
to
child?
I don't go to the swamp. I mean, not the swamp. The sump.
I hope you don't go to the swamp.
You know what a
don't
sump
go to
is?
the swamp or the swamp.
like those sewers, like that.
yeah,
empty
don't
out
go
into
there.
those areas.
Yeah, you shouldn't be going there.
I used to play paintball in
called a
those when
sump.
I
I
was
mean,
a
I
kid.
used to play forts in those. Yeah,
But I
so.
mean, like, I don't go there as an adult because, like, I'm just like, that's uninteresting to me. I know it's going to smell bad, and it's just like, whatever.
Yeah.
An alien thinking, like, Earth is filled with these creatures that, like, can't even, like, get a pandemic under control,
yeah.
which is so easy.
Yeah.
Like, you just have to obviously think this.
Just hit Control Alt P. It's
think-
not that hard.
And here's the thing, like, someone like Elon Musk,
It's easy.
he's not equipped with the right knowledge to solve this because he probably hasn't
He
gone
might.
But he might be, but I'm saying like he probably has more knowledge about engineering things than he does about microbiology. Like,
Engineering solutions to pandemics.
well, I mean that might be a new thing if we realize. Like I've heard a lot of language going around that this is a great what would you call it, dress rehearsal
Test run.
for
Yeah.
a pandemic that's way more scary.
Yeah.
Are you actually
Walking
scared?
Dead type
Are any of
pandemic,
you
yeah.
actually scared or anxious about this at all?
I'm
I'm
scared
more worried
about
for like other people I know that
Yeah,
are
exactly.
more susceptible to
and
it.
the
Like
system
parents
collapsing.
or
yeah.
older friends.
Right.
Yeah.
But me personally, I mean,
Like, I mean, disease wise, are you worried at all?
not at all.
Are you more
Me,
worried
for
about
myself,
economy, money, things?
Yeah.
Like
yeah. More
system-wide
I'm more
things?
worried about the implications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, see, just yesterday I was worried. Like, shit, do I have enough toilet paper? Do I have enough canned food?
Do you need any rolls?
What if this?
I got.
What
10,
if this
I'll give
goes
you
on
one.
for months and months?
No,
Like,
that's
what
what
if
I mean.
it's
That's what-
August
yeah.
and we're still stuck. And I've been, and I'm pacing my backyard in a specific route because it's my routine. You know what I mean?
You
like,
do that
what if
already.
you go like stir crazy?
Sounds like you do that already.
Yeah. It sounds like you really worked this out in your head.
All right, so I actually find it really interesting how we should do this as another episode, but I find it really interesting how
Yeah, what are we
people
at?
can live like 30 years
120.
in a cell
120.
or in prison. Oh, should I not go there?
No, go for it.
Go for it.
Oh, like they live like 30 years in solitary confinement and they seem pretty normal and like almost better adjusted than me living a free life on the outside. And the only ones who don't crack, it's because they have a routine. Like, yeah, you wake up, you exercise, you do this. Like,
Yep.
you go through your catechisms or whatever. Like, it's not that God saves you in jail. It's that religion has a lot of routine and rituals.
Gives you
and
order.
And
It
that
gives you
pattern,
order in the
that
chaos of-
imposed
of
order.
life.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
humans
So-
tend to look for familiarity and routine.
So, like, I just can't
Totally.
imagine the
That's the whole thing.
psychotic sort of order I'm going to impose on myself if I'm told I can't leave my house for months at a time.
Well,
Like,
so
I'll-
far we haven't.
So I had a real freak out moment about that yesterday, and then I thought, what about everyone else who can't handle that? What happens when they decide to just leave and they show up at my house? Like, I just started really panicking thinking about that.
Okay, so you're going down rabbit holes of like cause and effect of various things.
Breakdown of social order and,
Yeah.
and public order and mutual respect in society. I'm like, I don't think it's happening or it's going to happen, but it could. Like, worst
So-
case scenario, I think it could happen.
I've had the same thing where it almost feels like my brain is flipping between like, yeah, this is going to be fine. This is kind of a crazy historical situation, but it's going to be fine. And then it flips to like, wait, what if no one's in charge and it won't be fine? Kind of like anxiety.
exactly. Yep.
And then I also have like layered on top of that the like, wait, what if I have no students for 3-4 weeks and my $2,000 that I normally get from teaching becomes zero? And then like today happened and like all my students seem to be willing to switch to online, and I got 6 more students from another teacher who doesn't know how to
so you're profiting from this
an older teacher that doesn't know how to use like online.
Hey.
And I was like, yo, I can use Google Duo, Skype, Zoom, FaceTime, you name it. I'll download the
that
app.
hard. I just Google it.
I'll make an account.
I'll figure it out.
Oh, that guy doesn't know how to make
My
an
fans
account. He doesn't know how to
only,
like
cam girls live, whatever you need. I need money in this
trumpet
crisis.
lessons, piano lessons, cam girls, casting couch. I'm there.
Are you done?
Wacky waving, inflatable arm flailing, music lessons.
So, Johnny, to your point about people losing their minds in quarantine,
Right here. I thought you were talking about me.
like it's been
45 minutes.
It's been a few
Let's
days
go
since people have been starting to just say like, all right, if I don't have to go out, I won't. And Mom just messaged our family chat. Did you see that message of Dad?
I
so
did.
it says Dad's latest solution for the virus is for the government to make every American wear a dog cone on their head so they don't touch their face. So being that the government
Like the
hasn't started
lampshade?
issuing them yet, he made an impromptu one with a lampshade. P.S. Believe it or not, he's sober. And it's just a picture of him with a lampshade on his
Are
head.
you sure they're not getting into that Sambuca?
She said he's sober, which is far more concerning.
He's not much of a drinker. I believe he's sober.
Yeah. So this is
So
already
that means
what's
he's feeling
happening.
a little cabin fever.
And he's still going to work.
And he's on day 3.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's going to work.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just not able to go to the gym. That's
exactly. He hasn't been able to go to the gym.
Yeah, I
That's
went
it.
for a run today and my shins hurt. Fuck this.
You didn't go for a run today?
Yeah, I did.
When?
From 2 to 2:30.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh. Well,
And
you
then a
also
long walk.
Yeah, we did a long walk.
Well,
Yeah, my-
Well, you
all
know the
need-
shelter in place rules, it says that one of the things you can go for if you have a job that you're supposed to go to, but you're also allowed out for exercise in a
Yeah.
shelter in place scenario, which is
You're just supposed to keep
Yeah.
6 feet between you and it, which if you're in like a state park or a national park, like my state is covered in giant parks.
can't do that
And,
in
like,
New York
yeah,
City.
If you get stir crazy, you get in your car, you drive to the park, and you just like park every other spot. Like people are already doing that without being told. Like
Right.
don't park to another car if there's room. Like just give yourself space between the social distance thing. And like if you see someone on the trail, just let them walk 2 feet further ahead of you before you start walking.
I found it's actually a great excuse for like relationship fights. Like if you're about to get into a relationship fight, you just go, "Yeah, sorry, Corona stress."
Is that what you've been doing?
Yeah, it's worked.
Is that why your current fiance left?
What do you mean? She didn't leave me, folks.
No, I mean she left the studio.
Yeah, maybe she's even hearing us. Her bed's right above us. If we have we alerted the listeners that our Thunk Tank studio is now like an awkward studio living.
Yeah, we
sort
rented
of
out
a
the building.
Episode, yeah.
It's sort of a podcast kibbutz now, right?
yeah, it's a kaputz.
Pretty much.
Yeah, when are you coming here, Johnny?
Not
I mean,
anytime soon.
I was planning on coming next month, to be honest, but that's not happening now.
You could walk.
Wait, there's still planes. They're flying,
the
right?
bus.
You could drive.
Not
Take the
really.
truck.
Are they super expensive?
Honestly, you guys are in New York. You cannot pay me enough to go onto one of the 3 islands in that waterway that you're in. Long Island, Manhattan, or Staten Island. I'm not stepping foot on any one of those fucking death traps until this all passes. I love you guys.
What's
and I'm
wrong with the
worried about
island?
you. Okay, listen. Part of the reason I was happy to leave Long Island is not because it's such a great place with such strong infrastructure. It's because of you guys. But I remember Hurricane Sandy, which if people remember is 2010, I think 2000.
No, that was
something like that.
2013.
Whatever.
Okay, 2012, 13, something
12.
like that.
Yeah.
Anyways, Hurricane
12, yeah.
Sandy hit the East Coast, and it was supposed to be really bad, and honestly wasn't that bad where it hit for most of Long Island. But like one gas connection for the oil tankers, for oil refinery and gas for like gasoline production, was damaged, but there were still 4 functioning ones. So there was a small dip in gas deliveries and production, and there were gas lines. You guys remember there were cops having to show up, and like there were fights, people pulling guns on each other, and that was just because people panicked and were topping off their tanks every day. So there was a small reduction, but there was a panic buying which caused that. And that order was very frayed just from that. So I don't want to like stir panic or whatever, but you guys, everything comes in over a bridge. Like you don't even have any of your own big harbors to unload tanker trucks. So like if that shuts down for some reason, you guys are screwed. Like,
Well, I mean, the only
rely on
tankers that
these-
come into where we live are to fuel the power plant in the harbor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They're not there for you. They're not hooked up to even service
That's not true.
you. So,
We have
like,
shipping that comes in.
Yeah, but not oil.
We have ports.
Not
on Long Island.
We do. Yeah.
Some in Brooklyn and stuff.
I think
but
that. I mean,
there's so many
is a
millions
big
of
port.
people between them and you. Like, how much are you going to get out of that? There's like 7 or 8 million people on Long Island, and they don't have the kind of infrastructure that can handle like big shocks like that. So I'm happy to be in a state with a relatively small city compared to you guys. Portland's only like 500,000 people.
But I feel like Portland's always on the cusp of an apocalypse anyways. It's a weird vibe.
Yeah, so you're fine.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're ready.
But like we have so much fresh water, you can just set up barrels in your backyard and collect rain. I could collect rain through
that's
my
true.
gutters and boil that, and I'm good.
Well, if they
You might do
announce
that
like don't
regardless.
drink tap water, it's
I
not
bought a
safe
life
anymore.
straw online.
We would all
I
freak
ordered a
out,
life
wouldn't we?
straw as
I
soon
would
as
get a
this all
barrel.
started. That was the first
I'd
thing
get
I
a
did.
barrel.
Do you want to go
But-
in on a barrel?
Yeah.
But you guys get
All right,
drafts
we'll talk
and
after
shit.
the
Like,
cast.
anyways, like I'm close enough to nature. I can like get out of here quick, and we're whatever.
Did you mean
But-
spiritually or just like literally?
Both. Like I can be.
Oh,
in
you
a
do
na-
walk that same path in your yard every day. I
Yeah,
forgot about that.
I can be in a national
That's true.
rainforest in like a 20-minute drive from here, 30-minute drive. Like that's. You don't have any rainforests a half hour from your living room.
It's true. I don't.
Yeah, and I
It's
live
just
in the
factually
city. I don't
accurate.
live in the sticks.
I don't have a living room. I don't know what you call
Yeah.
it. What do you call it?
So it's but yeah, I love you guys, but I probably won't be coming to New York until the summer
Gotcha.
at the earliest.
Well, what is your timeline for this whole thing to blow over and things return to somewhat normal?
I don't think it ever will.
See, it's March 18th.
Somewhat
this
normal,
is new normal.
meaning-
This is a
Never.
like post 9/11 world.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we're old enough to remember a
Post-corona
pre
world.
9/11 world.
Yeah.
There's going to be a post.
I mean, it's going to be a full
COVID
year
world.
before like the waves of it go away. But I mean, like where people are going back to work and we're not in this like weird lockdown feel. How
But
long?
I don't know.
But this is something we all lived through that our parents never lived through.
That's true.
So this is a new thing for every generation.
They
It's
had
not something
Vietnam.
new.
We had this. Like,
I
But like
guess.
depressions, like recessions, every time it happens, the young people are like, "This is it. The system's breaking down," and the older people are like, "Yeah, I thought that too when I was your age. It's due again." But this is something that like no one's really lived through that's still alive, and so it's weirder and it's going to have a permanent impact. But I'd say
yeah, historically, it's
June-
not that rare, but
I think I would say June or July, hopefully. Worst case scenario, I could see it going past August.
yeah.
Them saying August as a worst case, I think it could be longer.
Well, the more
But-
people get it, the less it can spread
There's-
eventually.
I think
There's
at some point they're
so many
going to
old
see
people.
the numbers and they're going to over months increase testing to have drive-through tests so
Yeah.
people can actually literally find out if they have it or
Well,
not.
that's what they did in Korea,
Yeah.
right? And they kind of have it under control relatively, right?
Suffolk
as far
County
as
is
I
getting
know.
Suffolk County is getting a drive-through this week. So is Nassau.
Yeah.
All 5 boroughs. Yeah, they're doing it in New York. They're setting you have to schedule it online, but it's still a drive-through.
That's great. I mean,
Now the
these
trouble
little
is
things
if
add up
I have
over
not
time.
been infected, which I don't think I have. I mean, like I have a conspiracy theory, not even a conspiracy, but I just have
Luke
a
has
theory.
conspiracy. That
I don't know
he
if I
already
told
got
you
it.
this, Johnny, that I think me and my fiance already had this because we had like the worst chest cold we've ever had in our lives through like mid-January through early February. And it took forever to go away. And it was a dry cough. I had a fever for the beginning part of it, but I fought
Yeah.
it off and like basically was able to go about my normal life. And I've never had a cold that persisted in that kind of chest specific way.
There's a lot of colds though, that because I was sick for a couple of days and then I felt fine. And normally I either don't get sick or I get really sick. I
Yeah.
don't just get a cold for a few days and then I'm over it. And I had that. I had a cough for a couple of days and then I was better. But yeah, so I was thinking that too. But it's one of those things where you think every time you look at the clock, it's 3 numbers, but that's just that's what you're looking for now that you're thinking about it, kind of thing.
Yeah, of course,
I think
it's
it
biased.
might
Yeah.
be a fallacy. I forget which kind it is. We've talked about it.
It's
before.
confirmation bias, right? Like you're if you buy a Nissan
Yeah.
Cube, you're going to notice,
say
oh my God,
June,
there's
though.
cubes everywhere,
I say June, Joe,
And there's not.
There's not.
There's not
But you
cubes
said-
everywhere. You say
you
June?
said- You said when is this going to? I'm saying June, Joe.
Well, I think it depends what you mean. When is it going to? Because my marker would be when basically in mass restaurants and bars open up again.
Yeah, semblance of.
Do you
normality.
agree those will open up first and schools will stay closed.
Yeah, schools are
I
going to
think
stay
schools are gonna
closed
be
through the
closed.
summer.
I think
Yeah,
I think at this point
Yeah.
they're going to realize, oh, if we open schools like for
It's
like
gonna-
3 weeks, that's stupid.
Yeah.
So keep them closed.
Most
But I
colleges
think
already canceled.
They will
for the rest of
first
the year,
open
too.
up restaurants again.
Yeah, I
And
think so
they
too.
know
School
that
is-
it's going to spread
school-
more when they do that, but
Yeah.
that's okay because they've
Which I think
they've
will probably be. I mean,
leveled off part
it
of the
depends
curve.
how the curve develops from here, but I would say
exactly
probably
It-
June.
yeah, it really
Yeah,
depends
I would
on
say probably
data
June.
as they take in more and more data.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, but-
April's gone. I think May is gone. I think June's the earliest. for
Really?
sure. Yeah.
June's
Yeah.
early.
I would say
Not the
I would
most
my
realistic, though,
feeling
either.
now, optimistically, like again, this depends on the data.
I think June
of
is
testing.
optimistic.
June's very optimistic.
I think
Yeah.
optimistic would be mid-April that
Oh, I don't
that
think that's close.
restaurants open again.
Oh, I don't
No.
think that's going to happen.
No.
I'll bet money. I'll bet you $1,000.
I
a month?
I might have $1,000.
I think people are sleeping on this thing
Right
so
now, I
much,
can't bet
and
you
it just keeps
1,000.
proving you wrong every day.
Yeah.
All
Yep.
of this.
It's
Yeah, but-
getting because every day it's you're right. Every day there's
Something-
something else where you're like,
Mhm.
oh, it's kind of if that hadn't been for everything that came before it, that would be a huge deal.
Another thing to say is, do you guys feel weird about the whole fact that this thing called coronavirus is affecting the entire world? And
That's what I was saying
haven't
about
seen
the-
it once in my life.
That's
like,
the thing I was saying about
I can't
the-
see it, and
the
I haven't seen
9/11
any effects
effect.
of it, and I don't know if it's real personally. Like, I personally know in my fridge there's a slice of pizza waiting for me,
You don't
but
know
I
that.
do not know that the coronavirus is real. I actually don't know that.
It's
My
real.
fiance maybe ate it. My current fiance possibly.
Your
ate
current
it.
fiance may have eaten your current slice, your maybe current slice of pizza. It's
Well,
entirely
it's
But
possible.
isn't it
It's
weird? You
definitely
just
real.
don't know that. I mean, I don't know
I mean,
what you
I
mean
don't-
by definitely.
Luke, I
'cause-
don't know that Italy really exists.
That's what I mean, dude.
no, that means nothing. That's madness.
I've also been there.
I'm
guys.
willing to go there, man. I'm in quarantine. I'm going deep.
It's totally
I
real.
wouldn't go to Italy right now.
No, I would
right
not go. Not that you can, but you should
Italian
go.
cruises are so cheap right now. I did
think-
see that as
I think
a
it's
happy
gonna kill
note.
the cruise line industry, which is
Oh,
good.
yeah.
And they're not going to
Even if
bail
you-
out the cruises.
God.
They're like, nobody takes
No.
you to get from Milwaukee
Yeah.
to
Fuck
Toronto,
you guys,
like
yeah.
for business.
You guys were
They
part of the problem
deep
all along.
clean the cruise ship, all that.
There's no de-cleaning it.
No, who's gonna go on that next? Even if they
No.
deep clean.
Psychologically, people are just
No, but
fucked.
it's tainted.
Yeah, it's
It's
tainted.
tainted.
First of all, I would never go on
I
a
wouldn't
cruise
go on a
unless
cruise
it's the
anyways.
maiden voyage because there's no deep cleaning of a cruise ship not in a pandemic.
There's no deep
know what I mean?
cleaning
Like-
of a cruise ship ever. Yeah.
begin with.
That's what I mean. Yeah. But so the difference between school and restaurants, though, is schools are mandatory. Restaurants you only go to if you feel good.
Yeah.
So that's something you were saying. But
Yeah.
Apparently in Italy, this is a happy note. So they stopped running the ferries in the Adriatic and the Aegean to these little islands and stuff. They have these ferry tours and things to go out in the water. They stopped running those boats because there's too many people on them. It's, for Corona. So the dolphins have started coming into the mainland ports to see what's up because there's like no boat activity.
They're like, hey, why are you guys not boating?
And dolphins are smart. Like they know to not go near boat engines and like it and stuff. And so now that nothing's running, they're like, "Hey, what's up? What are you guys doing?" And they're like coming right up to the docks in a lot of areas.
Do you think
Also,
this
they're
is some
probably
kind
just
of dolphin
bored.
conspiracy? Like they're behind this?
No, I just think it's kind of like we're such a big chaotic thing on Earth that like not all of it is bad. Like I was talking today with someone at work. Like this has to be good for the bees, right?
Oh, it's
There's
so
no
good for
cars
a lot
on
of
the
things.
road.
It's so good for
Did you
Everyone
see the
forgot
pollution
about the
pictures
bees,
above
man.
China?
Everyone was so worried about the bees for like a year ago. Remember, they were
No,
about
that's been
to
going on for
die.
a decade, dude.
Dude,
that
we're not
people
worried
were-
I
about
know,
the
but
bees
you haven't
when we
heard
only have
shit.
5,000 ventilators.
Right, you haven't heard shit about the bees yet.
Well, did
for
you
a
hear
while.
about in Venice the waterways are so clean that dolphins are now swimming in them?
That's what he
I
just
just
said.
fucking said that.
Yeah.
I know. I'm just
Literally,
making
he just said that.
God
sure.
damn.
I'm just making sure.
But Johnny, have you seen the pictures above China of the pollution? Like that's not there.
Yeah, yeah.
Like,
the
there's a
satellite
lot of
maps, like, this has to
interesting
be
things that could come
good
out of
for
this.
us.
That
Well,
that
that's why
could
my plan.
snap us
My plan
into a
is
different
to
mode of
after
being.
this all,
We should
sort
just
of
do like
calms
a-
down. Is I'm going to rename climate change coronavirus. I'm just going to start posting about climate change and call it coronavirus.
It'll get more clicks.
Hey,
Or just put
if
the
we
word
took that
hashtag
as seriously
pandemic
as we
with
do
it.
this, and climate change
But
kills more people
climate-
than coronavirus.
Yeah, but climate change doesn't make the immediate newsworthy decisions happen where people say, "Oh my God,
It
doctors
could,
are
though.
letting people die."
No, it could.
It
Joe,
will.
You're
Just why is that my problem right now? I'm just trying to get to work, Joe.
Yeah.
You're telling me I need a new car that's electric?
Yeah,
I can't afford
but
that.
pollution kills more people than coronavirus.
Yeah, but
So
we don't
isn't-
see it directly. It's indirect.
Right. Yeah.
You
are
don't
the,
see
so are the costs, though, that
coronavirus,
we wind
Luke.
up spending.
Totally. I agree.
Wait, Luke, you don't see coronavirus. You just said that.
Oh no,
Is
I was just
climate
playing
change
devil's
a-
advocate to show that like I'm trying to explain why people don't care about climate change. It's like
But-
it's not immediate enough.
It's not sexy enough.
It's
If
not
we
sexy.
start calling it a pandemic,
It's not fat
'cause
and
it is,
sassy.
right?
Well, I mean, it's not
It
quite at
affects-
the level of a pandemic, meaning like you don't
think it
die in
is.
3 weeks from climate
That's
change.
not the definition of a pandemic. It just has to be sudden and.
I mean, I think it would be
widespread,
dishonest
right?
to call
And
climate change a
self-perpetuating.
pandemic.
Well, I'm
Why?
saying if Joe wants to be an asshole and call it coronavirus, he's
Oh
better
yeah,
off
then
just
you could say
calling
the
it a pandemic.
Oh Joe, you should write the article. It'll be really like cunty and like self-righteous. Be like the pandemic of climate change,
There
the
you
thing
go.
no
That's what
one's
I
paying
said.
attention to. You know,
I
like,
plan to.
yeah, I'll clap for it. We're
Pandemia.
at like an hour 30, so we should wrap up.
All right. Well,
Well, good luck. Please bring your UBI.
By the way, Thunk Tank
good.
listeners, we have a lot of plans in the works. We've been having really detailed meetings about like how can we serve you during your downtime during this crisis. We got a lot of surprises. Joe, can you name one of them?
What? Oh, coming soon.
Yeah, the corona lockdown surprises coming from Thunk Tank.
Oh yeah, we have a lot of fantastic items coming down the. Is it pike or pipe?
Both.
Yeah, we have them coming
Both
down
work.
left from the left.
Thunk Pike, the Thunk
We have
Pipe.
them coming down from the right. We have them coming down left, right, and center.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited for
No,
those
I
to
mean,
come.
would you agree at the meeting last night where we talked about all these ideas? Because basically we were like, hey, we have all this free time and all of our listeners have all this free time. How can we do something spectacular? You might say amazing for them. And what did you say to me last night? I forget what.
I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
What do you mean? The conversation we had last night about all the ideas we have for the Thunk Tank listeners?
You're gonna have to be way more specific. I was pretty drunk.
Toad, turn, pipe.
Oh no! I just
that was just for Tom.
I just remembered Johnny started the episode saying that he's drinking 9% beers.
Oh, that's right.
Oh yeah, how you doing,
so,
buddy?
yeah, last thing I'm going to contribute is my brewery I work for.
His
is-
brewery.
They're selling.
brewery.
You're allowed to sell stuff to go, so they're selling kegs and cases of beer at a severe discount.
Yeah.
And I get half off as an employee on top of that
Yeah,
discount.
shit.
So I got a keg of 9% beer for $20.
That's amazing. Oh my
So
god.
I had 2 of them during this podcast, and I'm pretty good right now.
You said keg, right?
Yeah,
And you hooked it up to your home tap system?
I actually have 2. I bought a second one. I heard that price. So I'm good. I could be stuck home for up to 2 weeks with that much beer.
Oh my god, 2 weeks with 2 kegs and
No,
9%
no.
beer. You
I
poor
think I
thing.
could last for a while. If I had to, worst case scenario, I could like mix it with water to make grog. Like it's I got a lot.
Well, I
right,
hope
well.
you guys are staying in good spirits. Johnny
hope
clearly
everybody's
will be.
Yeah.
I hope everybody's.
Go to the liquor
being
store and
healthy.
spend all your money on
Don't do
whiskey
that.
and booze, and remember that you can
Spend your UBI wisely.
If you gurgle whiskey, you will not get the corona.
Oh God, what have you done?
What if we all just gave our UBI to Bernie
Nope.
Sanders,
What if? What do you mean? What if? What if?
Why?
and then
What
he
if-
used it to pay off all of our Medicare? I don't know how things work.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
I know how it works.
I'm
Johnny
going to
just had
go
his
ahead
four-
and not do
Johnny
that.
just finished his 4th beer, 9% beer. That's how it works.
Yeah, I just disclaimed that. Then no, you shouldn't be listening to me. Is
Yeah,
my mic
I-
on? It shouldn't be.
Yeah, I'm out of it. It's all this coronavirus.
Well, thanks for listening. And I have an idea. Here's the one idea I had.
Oh, we really did have ideas.
I-
I thought you were trolling me.
No,
Oh shit.
I don't remember them. That's why I was asking
Yeah.
you.
Oh, I was pretty.
So
drunk.
here's one. Ready, Johnny? We do a cast because everyone's at home, working from home, whatever. We ask our Thunk Tank listeners in this episode, reach out to us on Twitter, direct message. Give us some way to either Skype you or like Google Hangouts.
We should just do a live chat, right?
Yeah,
A
that,
live
well,
stream.
Or we can do that on
I
YouTube,
think we
yeah.
should like do an episode where we make 10-minute calls to any Thunk Tank fans that want to call in and talk.
Okay, so if you're interested and you've listened this far, tweet at us at Thunk Tankers.
Yeah, but eventually you'll want to probably give your contact info for Skype or whatever.
Well, that's a start. I mean, I doubt anybody's listening at this point, but
hey,
if
we
you
had
are-
82 listens from last
not.
week's Corona
Doesn't mean they
episode.
listened all the way through. I hate to say it.
It does not mean that. You're right.
Yeah, whatever.
But they almost definitely did because I would.
Our way to keep that optimism up during this.
I haven't
these
listened to
trying
it.
times,
Just
guys.
That's right, man.
Yeah, I didn't listen to the episode
yeah,
either.
none of us listened to it.
In
so-
my defense, I was in it.
I was there,
Yeah.
so.
Whatever.
all
All right. Stay safe, stay smart, find your beach.
Johnny, you want to just hit stop, and that way we don't have to like hang up on each other?
Yeah.
Okay. Bye, Thunk Tank listeners. We love you.
UBI.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the Thunk Tank podcast. Hope you enjoyed it. If you want to help us out, please consider leaving a rating or a review wherever you listen to podcasts, and share it with people you think might like it. And if you really want to support us, you can go over to patreon.com/ThunkTankPodcast. We have links to this in the episode description and other places. And for as little as $1 an episode, you can help us keep the lights on. And you also get access to a very special Drunk Tank feed of episodes. So every few episodes, we'll have a few more beers and record an extra 20 to 30 minutes of extra thunky, silly whateverness. So there's a separate RSS link you can get from there, and if you put that into a podcast player, you'll get your own separate feed of only the Drunk Tanks. I think we have about 6 or 7 of them out already, and more to come. Thanks for listening, and stay funky.